And a good Saturday morning. Welcome live from the inside of the world-famous Sugar Shack in Texas, USA. It's the In Real Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we talk to Ted Ryan, the Ford Archives and Heritage Brand Manager. Oh, it's going to be good. We'll also have the upcoming event schedule. Mr. Mars reviews the new Jeep Gladiator, plus you'll hear the stories making automotive news headlines this hour. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, who's on the phone with Mother Mary. King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. So glad that you could join us on this Saturday. Thank you very much. We've got a great show lined up for you today. If we can get everybody to call in and that sort of stuff. Mr. Mars, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Where you been? What are you doing?
I'm working with our first guest, and I fat fingered it. For some reason I put a 69 in his email instead of a 64.
Well, you just owe him 5.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many ways that this could go very
well, it's
wrong.
been one of those mornings.
No,
we
it
started
hasn't.
pretty early.
It's
actually been pretty good until just now.
Yeah, actually, Mars only made one mistake in rehooking up all of the equipment in the studio, and that was over here on the iHeartRadio app, and we've got all that figured out now, and we are hoping that the rest of the show is going to be just as smooth as glass.
It will be. It will be.
Okay.
I just talked to Ted, and it's all my fault, and I'm working on getting it fixed right now.
Come for your
Mars,
dog,
it's been your fault.
Well, I
Always.
know, but this time I'm.
As long as I have known you, it's always your fault. At least in my mind, it is.
Because it's easier to blame you than take responsibility for it.
Correct.
Absolutely.
We got a great show lined up for you today. It's going to be probably one of our better shows if everybody shows up and does their thing. Hey, I want to thank Tammy Dooley and the fine folks up there in Granbury and the Lone Star Street Rod Association for
What a
inviting
great
us
trip.
up. Yeah, it was. 5 hours it took us to get up there and back.
we had a couple of stops.
Well, you know, you got to have the proverbial, it's you have to stop at Buc-ee's. And that Buc-ee's that we stopped at, oh my God, it was jam-packed. But, you know, it was good. It was fun, and we had a good time overall. We had some great interviews with guys that really, Mr. Boris, really, great interviews with some great car owners and some very, very cool cars.
And, you know, Granbury Lone Star Street Rod Association's Rod Run, very much of a family affair because quite a number of the people we interviewed, their children, their grandchildren were there with them enjoying, you know, the 100 degree.
Or the vehicle was passed down from dad to son to son to son. You know,
Yeah.
That lineage of that, too.
Yeah, it was very good. And I think that you actually had some, your friends make comments.
I had some comments from some friends that had seen it and really talked about, you know, some of the cars as well as just
the one car that stood out to you.
the Buick.
The Buick.
Yeah, I love the guy's Oldsmobile, and I love the fact that it had an old 350 in it. But I still remember when that Buick drove in, we all stopped to look at it as it drove by, and not knowing he was.
But that's the
gonna be
one with the trailer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What a gorgeous car.
Yeah.
Great story. You know.
Yes, I agree.
But I thought that car kind of caught my attention the most.
My favorite was the little blue coupe.
Yeah. That was a good one.
I don't know what it was, the 34 model. Was it a Model A? Anyway, it was bad to the bone. Yeah.
American Graffiti, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, they did, except for the color.
Well,
It was sky blue,
something
what
like
you want to call it. But at any rate, it's always a great time. And we forget in the year that it comes around, the good time. And it's all about the interviews with the guys that own the cars. And they tell the story about the cars. And that's where all of the gold comes, if you will. It's just good stuff. Yep. Mr. Mars, how you looking down there? It's not looking good. No, you're not.
oh, boy.
It's going to be one of those.
Lying to him
It's
again.
going to be one of those
Quit
kind
lying
of
to Mike.
things. Yeah. So while we wait for Ted, we're going to do some Hemmings Marketplace Sold Cars Roundup.
All right.
This is from a week ago. 2012 Cadillac CTS V. How much, Jeff? Because you're the Cadillac
12,
guy.
I'm thinking you're looking at
22.
18.
22 to 24.
This is a CTS V.
Oh, V. 19.
No.
$59,850
Yeah.
For a 12.
for a 2012. Yeah, so an 11-year-old car,
Yeah, wow.
and it looks like a wagon. You tell me.
Oh, that was one of my favorite cars.
Yeah, it is the
Because you
wagon.
can get the wagon with
Well, they were competing against the Magnum.
yeah.
the 500 horse engine. You can actually get a 6-speed in a Cadillac.
Yes, I
station
drove
wagon.
one. Exactly.
Cool car.
1964 Chevrolet C10 pickup truck. Looks stock except for the wheels. $15,225. That's a bargain if it's not rusted through. Of course, we can't tell that. A 1972 Chevy Nova. 72
Priceless. Priceless.
How much?
30.
10 grand.
16,800
It
is
should
what
be
it sold
priceless.
for. Now these are all auction cars. 1974 Triumph Spitfire.
6 grand.
Close. Very good. $5,125, and it looks pretty good.
Well,
Okay.
for a Triumph.
Well, I mean, yeah, for a Triumph. Let me. I know that he's ready, but let me finish this little segment.
Now,
because,
GT6 is something different, but
No, I got you. 1969 Mercury Cougar XR7.
Oh,
cool car.
12.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Mars. Are you joining us now?
18.
12.
I'll say 27.
18.9. 18.9.
He
Good
knows,
guess. Yeah.
He knows his Cougars.
We're not going to go there. How about a 1972 Buick Skylark? This one kind of surprised me. 72 Buick Skylark, not a GS, none of that.
24.
12.
23.
Mars, you're on.
I know. I don't. It's the juice he drank this
I
morning.
don't know.
No, he read it before you
How
did.
about the 1969 Jeep J3000?
I'm not real sure what a J3000
Well,
is.
it's this truck looking thing.
It's and they're
Oh,
they're,
okay.
they pull
I'll say 11.
no. I'm gonna say 20.
11.5. 1937 Buick Special. It's kind of like a gangster car, except it's not painted up that way. A 1937 Buick Special,
Oh, last week wasn't it 36 Buick
something
Special?
like that. And this looks very similar to it.
30.
18,375. So you can get into the hot rod market or a classic car market for cheap, really.
Inexpensive.
Here's one. This is for Mars, a 1955 Plymouth Belvedere. I can see Mars driving that. Mars, how much for the Plymouth Belvedere? Since you seem to be hitting it on the head these days.
15.
Plymouth. Are you? You need to put your headset on. You're real. Okay. Well, all right. Well, then
22.
tell me to
said
shut
15.
up.
22.
21. Yep. 56 Studebaker Golden Hawk.
Cool car. That's one of those Bonneville cars.
How much?
30.
35.
23. That would, to me, would be a bargain. I don't like Studebakers, but the Golden Hawk, that had the bad V8 in it.
Yep.
For
289.
for 1956, it was bad to the bone. Anyway, as far as performance went, but boy, it's ugly. Anyway, here's another Mars car. A 1989 Citroen
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
2CV.
Three-wheeler.
Almost.
2 Chevaux.
18.6. Yeah, to get a whole bunch of nothing.
Is it beige?
No,
I
it's
pay extra
red.
for the beige.
You know, that thing could go 0 to 60 if you pushed it off a cliff.
How about a thing?
Oh, Volkswagen,
Volkswagen
Farfignugan.
Yeah,
Stop eating Fig Newtons. then.
18.
18?
8,
That's a lot.
1989 Honda Prelude, 14,175, and finally a 73 Volkswagen 181. That would be the thing. Okay. There's also a DeSoto Adventurer here that sold for 30,000.
Be still my heart.
It looks like a Woody. All right. Okay, are we ready now? All the
have you got Ted potted up?
No, I don't.
That's why I can't hear him.
But I am now. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies
now
and
we
gentlemen,
can hear you, Ted.
Ted Ryan from Ford and the Ford Heritage folks, and Ted, it's great to talk to you again. How are you?
Great to talk to you now that we're actually live and talking.
Yes. Well, it's better than being dead and talking, I think.
Yeah, so no, but great to be on. Thanks for having me. We're we're celebrating a nice big round number birthday this week.
120, and it happened yesterday, I understand.
It did. It did. If you had been in the Dearborn area, we lit up the building, spelling out 120 and at the glass house. So it was
how cool is that?
And a lot of cool stuff that went on, and it's still going on. Frankly, we're gonna take the Disney model and we're gonna celebrate for a whole year. So you'll see other little tidbits coming over the transom as we move forward.
I love it. Well, so that's what happened yesterday, and you were the guy with archives and heritage brand manager. Now, I don't know how you've wormed your way into that golden job, but I'll tell you what, congratulations to you. You're the envy of every car guy in the entire world.
Well, thank you. It's one of the best jobs in the world, if not the best job.
How long have you been doing this?
5 years at Ford, and before that, I did 21 years at Coca-Cola doing the same thing there.
Oh, wow.
That
My
is
dear friend is the archivist at Guinness, and she always tells me, no, I got a better gig than you do. I get to drink Guinness every day. So it's a fantastic job.
I mean, do you have an education in an archival history and stuff? I mean,
I do double degrees in history, and then the archival stuff, you do specialized training. So like how to make a photograph last forever, how to store the paper, how to organize it. You do the special archival training, which I've done. I've been in this career now for almost 35 years. So you learn both of it. You learn the history side, and then you learn how to make it last forever.
That is so cool, because you hear people coming out of school with history degrees, and you go, okay, well, let's see the Romans and American history and that sort of stuff. But this takes it all to a whole nother level. Where did you get those degrees from?
Emory University and then Georgia State. And my history, you have to learn all the Roman stuff. But I was a 20th century pop historian. My first job out of college was the Bobby Jones curator. So I was a golf historian. And then I built the Atlanta Braves Museum at Turner Field. And then we did a baseball documentary on baseball in the minor in the South. And then morphed over to sugar water and now cars. So 20th century pop history. And I'm a mean contestant on Trivial Pursuit.
I was just going to say, oh my gosh, I'll bet you are. Don't get that.
You need to go on Jeopardy.
Yeah, that too.
So did the pop history get you the gig at Coca-Cola?
It did. Well, the pop history, the Braves Museum got me the gig at Coca-Cola, and then Ford came calling about 6 years ago, and I told him no for a year, and then finally jumped ship from Coca-Cola to Ford. There's so many stories that could be told about Ford, and they weren't doing a really good job of telling the historical stories. So, everybody, Henry Ford, the assembly line, everybody knows that. But what about the other rich stories that are out there? So
now let's just pause here just a moment. So you went from Atlanta to Dearborn. Where are you living in Dearborn?
I am living in Dearborn. I am in my basement in Grosse Pointe Park, even as we speak. So the winters are a bit colder up here, and I miss Atlanta.
Just a bit.
Well, you have another Dearborner here by the name of Jeff Zekin.
I love Dearborn, and had you been there, it looks so cool to see the tower lit. We did it on the 15th and the 16th. And then our special Dearborn friends are the Southeast Michigan. We've done a special menu for the 120th, where you guys may know it because you're car guys, but most people don't know that the Ford Times was published for almost 7 decades and featured 3,200 restaurants across America between 1948 and 1980 some odd. Every issue had about 4 different recipes, 4 different diners, drive-ins, and dives before DDD. And so we plucked out a couple of those recipes and reinterpreted Henry Ford's favorite chocolate chip cookie and Maurice salad and a couple of others. So look for more food coming down the road to celebrate 120 as well.
Where do we find that information? Where do we get that?
If you go to Ford.com, we've got a special 120 page. And then on the Ford social channels, you can also see a really cool ad. You guys may enjoy it. We used a Bronco and a Lightning to blow out 120 candles while there's historical footage interspersed about Willow Run and the famous Rosie the Riveters and the assembly line and the $5 a day wage and the intro of the Mustang and us kicking Ferrari's butt at Le Mans. they wove this footage throughout while these two pretty cool vehicles are blowing out candles with by doing donuts around them.
So, as the historian, were you providing information for the Ford versus Ferrari movie?
That's a tricky one. We did not. We provided historical information, but the company was not an official partner. I always describe Ford versus Ferrari as an excellent work of fiction. There's a lot of cool racing scenes, but not a whole lot of truth in there.
Welcome to Hollywood, right?
Well, I go watch movies like that for entertainment anyway. So
Yeah, don't watch it. It's not a documentary. Ken Miles was at 65 race, not in a garage crying, and Henry Ford was never in a car crying, driven by Carroll Shelby, because Ken Miles actually drove the car, and it was the entire Ford board of directors who went to Shelby American and got rides from Ken Miles at the Shelby racetrack. So don't believe everything you see in it. But that being said, the race scenes are cool and the cars look cool. And
great story. Just truly a great story.
Well, there is actually a documentary that documents that whole thing, and as from what I understand, as right as it could be for the time.
That's the Adam Carolla one, right?
I'm sorry?
It's Adam Carolla. Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yes.
And the ultimate source on it is the Go Like Hell book by A.J. Baim is very well written, and once again, very accurate as well.
So Ted,
we provided them a whole lot of stuff they ignored.
Ted, did I miss? How long have you been at Ford doing this?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
You know a lot of stuff for being here only 5 years.
I was blessed at a young age with a near photographic memory, so I am probably the only one alive that read all three volumes of Nevins and Hill, the giant 3-volume history of Ford Motor Company, and retained most of it. And then I'm a historian. I like to read. I'm sitting here. You guys would be jealous. This is on my desk right now, the company vehicle inventory for special vehicles, and it's listing all of the vehicles that we gave to Shelby. Mustang convertible, Country Squire. It just I love it. It's cool stuff and it's cool stories.
Does Ford have an actual museum other than the Henry Ford? Do you have an actual factory museum?
No.
Everything.
Unlike GM's got the Heritage Center, and Coke has the World of Coke, and Guinness has. We donated all of our vehicles to the Henry Ford Museum, and we donated our papers prior to 1945. Most of those are there. So if you want to research Henry Ford or Edsel Ford, you go to the Henry Ford Museum. If you want to research the introduction of the Mustang, you come to me, and we'll help you on our side.
Well, and the Henry Ford Museum is definitely a bucket list place for any auto enthusiast to visit.
Oh, any kind of enthusiast of any kind.
It's a remarkable collection of stuff. Where else can you go? And there's a DC-3 hanging in the ceiling.
It is. It's a fantastic museum, and they're good partners. And our archives actually funds a couple of research positions and a couple of archivists to help them make those material available to the public, because people can write us at archives@ford.com and we'll help them as much as we can. But if you want access to the original materials prior to 45, you got to go see them.
So what do you work on a daily basis? Because you clearly don't need to work on your memory. We know that that's good. But seriously, what is it that you do 8 to 5?
Well, it's very interesting because every single day is different. And keep in mind, I'm the archivist for Ford Motor Company. So my job is to support Ford Motor Company. So, for example, we'll help the Bronco brand or the Mustang brand or the different brands for the recent Super Duty launch. We wrote a very detailed history of the Super Duty for that team. We find them photos. I'll throw out what we call the G-Whizzers. We have 16,000 cubic feet of material. That is the records like what I just showed you. We have 3.5 million photos. We have nearly 1,000 pieces of artwork from the Ford Times and from ads. And we catalog and we store and we make it available. Any of you guys have a Bronco, or have you driven a Bronco?
Yes, we have, as a matter of fact. Love the Bronco.
We did the GOAT modes, where you drive modes.
Yes.
The GOAT mode.
Yep.
That came out of our archives. The Bronco design team was in the archives, and a 1962 document, a bunch of 62 documents described the GOAT, G-O-A-T, goes over all-terrain feasibility studies for the Bronco. Well, the marketing team fell in love with that concept. It goes over all-terrain. And then I backfilled them on the story that Ford was building Jeeps and Mutts for the Army, and a bunch of the designers for the Bronco were designing Jeeps for Vietnam, and they knew what worked. And the "Goes Over All Terrain" was an Army slogan, so they built that GOAT mode into the actual vehicle.
Oh, cool.
That was a great day in the archives, seeing something. And we did it with the Mustang. We did the reveal of the new S650 in the archives and did a history display. So every single day is different. And every single day is just shining the one of the trademarks for Ford Motor Company.
Is there a plan for Ford to produce a 120th Heritage car in memory of Henry?
I don't think you'll see a 120th, but we're already planning 125. 120, we did it with the flippant, not flippant. That's not. We wanted to take a lighthearted touch with it because it's a nice milestone. It's a round number. So we did the menu. I haven't talked about the other two things we did. One, real quick, is we did a Spotify playlist. If any of you guys are like driving music, I curated a list of 121 songs. I did one to grow on that feature Ford somewhere in the lyrics. So you get the expected Beach Boys, Deuce Coupe and Jan and Dean, the Woody, and you get those, and Mustang Sally. But we also did some fun ones. We've got Blinded by the Light. So if anybody goes to Spotify and do Ford 120 in the search bar, it'll come up. Blinded by the Light is the most misheard lyric of all time. Bruce Springsteen and then Manfred Mann sing "Cut Loose Like a Deuce" or "Revved Up Like a Deuce," another runner in the night, which is referring to the 32 Ford Deuce Coupe. And it's the most misheard lyric of all time.
Yes, it is.
121 songs there. And I found one on the Ford Anglia about Harry Potter flying an Anglia into a tree, and a young rapper raps about picking up chicks in his purple Ford Probe. And Dad, y'all are in Texas, aren't you? So Nancy Griffith singing the Econoline. We found 121 songs that my favorite is Loretta Lynn's Lincoln, and a country singer sings about buying her Lincoln. We did that, and the other big thing we did is we updated the FordHeritageVault.com, which is our online source of everything Ford. We have about 7,000 photos in there and 5,000 brochures. We added about 500 photos of Ford locations around the world. So there's 50 different locations: the Rouge, Willow Run, Fordlandia, Cologne, Dagenham, that got added to the Ford Heritage Vault.
So are you in I'm asking this because I think I've been to your place. It's a special building off to the side there on the grounds that's got nothing but you and your business in it?
We are in the Ford Heritage Lab. That other one was on Schaefer Road. That we moved about 6 years ago, just before I got there, and we are part of the engineering building. But it is a purpose-built building. We have three. We'll get in the weeds. We have three negative coolers. One that we chill down to 39 degrees, another at 41, and another at 57 for photographic, film, and cassette video assets. Each one at different temperature. A special art holding room. We've got.
I thought you were going to say that was for the Guinness.
No, Guinness is warmer. Guinness would be the 55 one. But no, it's purpose built. Ford takes its history seriously, but not to look back. When the Bronco teams were coming in the archives, we didn't want them to go back and remake a 66 Bronco. But what we did do, that we did it for them and the Mustang team. We imagined a long room, because it's a very long room. We put paint samples for every single Mustang color and every single Bronco color on a long table. So you could see all 100+ paint colors that Mustang or Bronco have ever
through the
been
years.
painted. And they could pick up the colors, the paint chips, and hold them in their hand. And so when you see the Heritage Edition Broncos coming out, it came from the source. They carefully curated what they did going forward.
When you laid them out, did you lay them out by year?
Yes.
So they knew exactly what they were doing as far as going back to that particular year. I have another question for you. What are you doing for things like the future, like Mach-E? Well, how does that work for you?
That's a good question, because that's Born Digital, and Born Digital is the most difficult thing to save for the future. Your program right now is being captured electronically. Will you be able to play that in 15 years? That forward migration. So like the newest Lightning, I'll use a Lightning as an example, doesn't have an owner's manual. There was no printed owner's manual. So it came electronically, and it gets updated as the over-the-air updates happen for the Lightning.
Right.
So in essence, we're having to capture each iterative change to the owner's manual, mainly for legal reasons. If we ever get hauled into court, we got to be able to produce something. It's a really intricate daily struggle. I've got a team of 6 people, and they're much better at that than I am. They're mainly information scientists, and their degrees are in library and archive information management. But it takes a team of 6 for us to figure out how to do this.
Next time that we talk to you, what are we going to talk about? Because I want to get back with you when we have a full half hour with you and talk about whatever it is that you want to focus on, and we're just going to go with that. Because, really...
We're going to talk about concept cars, and we are going to talk about the Ford Times Magazine. Both of those are going to be 120 activations that are going to happen later in the year. So I'll be excited to, and I do need to run because I actually have another a radio one booked at 9:30. But no, it's exciting in concept cars, guys. I'll just tease you. The team that I just described have spent a year, and we think we have every single Ford concept car ever created captured photographically.
Ted, it's great to talk to you. We're going to let you go to your next radio interview. Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to talk to you, and we look forward to touching base with you again. How about the fall? Does that sound good?
That sounds perfect.
Ted Ryan, thanks again.
Thank you.
Ryan with Ford Motor Company, and he is the Archives and Heritage Brand Manager with Ford Motor Company. Well, we've just blown through an entire segment of the show. Sorry. Mr. Mars, you're going to have to wait on your Jeep Gladiator.
This guy is...
I know.
I've been there before they moved. You had to wear the white gloves in certain rooms. It's fascinating to see all that and to know he knows so much.
Hey, if you'd like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email. The address here is info@inwheeltime.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around, and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6, or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we hope to have Gary Rollo, the modified production racer in the National Drag Racing League event going on up in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Later, look at the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Howdy along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad that you could join us on this Saturday morning for our live program. Always every Saturday, 8 to 11, live. And then, of course, throughout the week, you'll get podcasts and special events and all that other stuff. So if you'll not only just like us, but follow us on Facebook, and actually YouTube has actually gone a bit further. Now we've got podcasts on YouTube, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yep.
Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to kind of jumble things up a minute, and we're going to have Conrad do the events calendar. Now, these are events, not cruise-ins.
Oh. So Thursday, June 22nd is the Rudy's Barbecue Meet at the Rudy's Country Store in Tomball.
That would be a cruise-in, I think.
Tomball Parkway. Yeah, but it's in the future. It's not this weekend. It's a couple of weekends.
Yeah, but an event would be like a car show.
And then the June 24th is the Lone Star Drift Round 3 at the Houston Police Academy. Those are always fun. And June 24th is the Cars and Coffee at 26600 Westheimer. June 25th is Cars and Cocktails at Little Woodrow's in Tomball as well. July 2nd is Coffee and Chrome Sunday up here at the Avalon Diner. And then July 15th is the Texas Road to Revolution cruise. They're going to start off at the Black Bear Diner in Humble and cruise through East Texas. That'll be a fun little cruise.
Yeah.
Is it a one-day cruise?
Yep. Out and back.
Where are they going to go to?
Up and down East Texas.
This is events.
It's
a great event.
To the Piney Woods.
Through the Piney Woods.
So I wonder how far you could go out from the Black Bear Diner to make it back before the sun goes down.
Oh, gosh.
Could you make it up to Lufkin?
Oh, easily.
Longview?
Oh, yeah. Lufkin, Longview, probably.
How about Texarkana?
That'd probably be a pretty good haul, but yeah, you probably could. But I would say they're probably going to go up.
Well, if you're doing 150 miles an hour.
Up near Jasper and stuff, because there's some fun roads driving up that direction. Well, up there in northeast Texas.
Okay. Call Jasper
East of Northeast.
Yeah. Whatever. All right.
North by Northwest.
We're not going to get too picky about it. Mr. Mars, are you too busy to do your car review?
No, sir, not too busy at all. Just doing a quick audio check
All
here.
right. Well, why don't we take a look at the 2024 or 3? 23 Jeep Gladiator.
It's the Jeep Gladiator Mojave 4x4, and I was really surprised to find that the Jeep Gladiator is now available in 10 different trim levels. It's still part of the first gen that was introduced in 2019, and the Mojave is about mid trim level. It's maybe 3/4 up. It is a mid-size pickup. It is the only mid-size pickup that is a convertible, because you can take the doors and the top completely off of it and have yourself a nice little convertible.
We know you like taking the top off.
I'm telling you, 4-door crew cab. It's got a 5-foot bed on it. This year they did introduce a new trim level, the Freedom Edition. It's based on the Sport trim level, but we're going to stick with the Mojave. It's kind of done after a high-speed desert runner, because even the suspension's kind of the front's got an inch higher lift to give you a little more, I guess, jump over the dunes.
Over those dunes.
Yeah. So when you look at it, you're going to see the familiar 7-slot grille. It's got LED lighting, which is the headlights, fog lights, tail lights. You got the removable doors at the top, like I mentioned. It's got performance shocks, skid plates under the transmission, the fuel tank, all the things you would expect for a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Interesting, it runs on some 17-inch wheels with some 33-inch tires. It is off-road. That's all part of being off-road. It's a little different than the street. Complete with Dana axles in the front and rear. That's 14 gears, which has an impact on your fuel economy.
You think?
Yes. Now, on the inside, we had cloth seats, which is really good, because this is an off-road vehicle. Absolutely off-road. Got sport bolsters on it, though. Front seats are heated. And it's got Apple, Android, all the technology. It's got a 7.4-inch driver display that's got, for your speedometer, your tach, and a lot of other things that you can figure out and display on there. 8.4-inch touch monitor in the middle. That's where you're going to find your Uconnect with your radio, your air conditioning system, and it does note that it does have AC vents in the rear for the rear passengers. Got storage behind the rear seat. We have the Alpine Premium audio system, so that when you're going down the road at highway speeds with the top down and no doors, you got plenty of volume there to overcome the wind noise.
Kind of like in a helicopter with the doors off.
Yeah,
the air conditioner doesn't work.
Because the air conditioner doesn't work.
So up under the hood, we had the 3.6 liter V6. This is the same engine you're going to find in a lot of the vehicles from Jeep. 285 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque. And that is the only engine that's available in the Mojave trim level. No other choices. 8-speed automatic. EPA says you should be looking for about 17 miles per gallon in the city. On the highway, 22, combined 19. I drove 207.8 miles and got 15.1.
Oh, my.
A lot of mine was in town, so I got that 14.
That's what I got, too.
It's about the same?
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's got a lot of bottom end to it, but it cost.
But you know what? And let me just say this about that. And I said that in my review. This is an off-road, purpose-built vehicle. There are going to be compromises made that aren't going to really meet up with an everyday mid-size pickup truck.
Because it is designed for off-road.
Off-road.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's a very specific off-road. I was talking to a couple of guys that down here we don't have deserts per se. The closest thing we got is the beach, and with the sand. But for a rock crawler, it will do that. But it's got some specific things like the front being an inch, the lift being an inch taller and stuff for the sand and for that environment.
I like to refer to it as very comparable to the way that really a true pickup guy would do, actually tell the factory this is what he wants on his pickup truck. The gearing, the transmission, the wheels, the tire, all of the stuff that you can change on your vehicle. It's the same thing that holds true with Jeep, except it's even more so.
And it may have been something Jeep did some research on to find out what kind of modifications people were doing to their personal
Correct.
Gladiators, and this is it.
Yeah.
Well, they do that with all their Wranglers and their other Jeep off-road vehicles. But with the Gladiator, one of the things that they did, it looks very much like a Wrangler. It shares a lot of things with the Wrangler, such that whenever that vehicle launched in 2019, there was 200 aftermarket or 200 accessories you could get from Jeep that were already available for the Wrangler that would transfer and fit on this thing.
Right.
So it was very much built in line with the other products that they have.
So did you find lots of the Easter eggs?
I found quite a few of them. Quite a few of them, and my granddaughters even helped me find some of them. They said, "What are you looking for?" And I explained it to them. They thought it was cool.
Well,
They
it is
went and looked
cool.
over it, yeah. Now, pricing. Base model Gladiator will start at $38,990.
That's not cheap.
It's not cheap when you compare it to a Chevy Colorado that starts at $29,200. But the ZR2, the off-road version of that vehicle, starts at $46,800. Which, when you look at the base trim price of the Gladiator Mojave at $50,595, and the as-tested price, the MSRP, was a flat $67,000.
Wow.
The other one that I found that I thought would be comparable would be the Toyota Tacoma, very popular off-road vehicle. The TRD, the base model on it's $28,250, but the TRD starts at $40,776. So when you get into that mid-size, serious off-road type vehicle, they're all priced comparable. The Gladiator may be a little bit higher, but it's got a reputation. And one thing I did fail to mention, Jeep off-road comes with trail-rated badging on it. Well, the Mojave does not have trail-rated badging. It has a desert rating.
Hence the
Desert
name Mojave.
badge instead of trail rated because of that Mojave
Desert
concept,
runner
the
look.
desert runner thing on it. And after having a week and driving it around town, I can see where, that size truck would be
Yeah, but
very
even the Tacoma in
advantageous.
Colorado, my personal opinion, are not comparable to the off-road ability of the Jeep.
I agree. but in having something to compare it to,
I think that it is probably its best competitor in my mind would be the Toyota Tacoma TRD.
right.
I don't ask me specifically why, but I have seen Toyota represented more of a head-to-head kind of thing, the off-roadness of it.
Yes, yeah. They put a lot of the cameras, a lot of the features that you can get in the Jeep off-road vehicles, you can now get in the Tacoma. That's probably, I agree, that's the one that's done the most to be competitive in that category.
Yeah.
The ZR2
but they're
looks
chasing
good, but
Jeep. Jeep's leading the pack.
Well,
that's-
yes and no. I think that the Jeep Gladiator really stands alone. You can compare them, but not really, because the Jeep is focused on off-road. And I'll tell you what, if you have a remote cabin in the mountains of Colorado somewhere, that would be the ideal thing. Get up the mountain with the four-wheel drive. You put a plow on the front of it and have all your supplies in the back. Bingo. Because remember, it is a four-door.
And I personally think the back seat, the rear seat for the passengers, there's a little more room. To me, part of it's because of the way the seats are structured. They're a little more upright, whereas some of the other midsize, you're more laid out. Your feet extend out more in front of you, even in the rear seat.
Plus, you also got that great storage underneath the back seat.
Yeah.
And you can fold the back seats up. It's a Swiss Army knife.
That's a good way to put it.
Yep. I want to remind you that the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In-Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. Don't forget YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, because Facebook apparently has changed the algorithm or something, and we don't want just likes. We love them, but we'd rather have you follow us.
Al Gore never had any rhythm.
Don't follow
Al
too
Gore.
close.
Al Gore. Is he still alive?
No, he
invented the internet, didn't he?
He was dead when he was vice
Born.
president. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stiff wood.
He'll live forever on the internet.
No doubt. He invented the internet, didn't he?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
You can believe him.
Yo, absolutely.
Because it's on the internet.
Yeah.
And you got to think, 20 years ago, he said that both polar ice caps would be completely melted by now. Wrong. Again.
Al Gore. What does he do now?
He gets rich complaining about the environment.
Oh, is he an environmentalist?
No, he's a wacko environmentalist.
Okay.
I mean, like, so far
Mike,
off
see if we can get him on the air.
Yeah, it'd fit right in.
wacko.com.
Well, that would come up as Waco.com, and I don't think there's much comparison. We did go through Waco on our trip up to Granbury.
Yep,
That was
Southern
good.
Waco.
Saw all the Buc-ee's signs headed north on 35.
I saw that there is a new Bucky competitor up in the Midwest. Not that Bucky's is in the Midwest, but it's a Bucky-like kind of answer to Bucky's, Walters or something like that. And it's very similar to Bucky's.
Nothing compares to Buc-ee's.
No. Nor,
What do they got? Walter Nuggets?
Walter Nuggets. I don't know. I don't remember if that's even the name, but they're coming to the Midwest.
Near you.
Near you.
I thought the best sign we saw on the way up was Buc-ee's is like 93 miles. It said, "Potty on."
Potty on. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Creative.
I wish that they would
Come
buy
on the
some
show.
time on our show. We could whoop that up.
We could.
What? What do you smile? What is that? That's the smirk on your face. I
Well,
see
no,
there.
it just
But
that's
they
something
never
we need to
respond.
work on.
You've reached out many times.
We
They never
have,
respond.
and Bucky, he.
So if you know somebody at Buc-ee's that'll help us, info@inwheeltime.com.
Well, now you're begging.
Hook us up.
There's a
Yes, I am.
cashier named Flo that was there. We know Flo.
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 And her husband, Ebb and Flo.
Never mind.
Jeff, did you share your medication?
No, but I do like it.
Okay. Well, clearly our National
Yeah,
Drag Racing League.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia Drag Racing League, whatever.
They leave on the clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they've left this broadcast.
Yeah,
You know, that's one of the things about those guys at that age. They forget what?
Forget what they went into the kitchen for.
Yeah, what am I going in the house for?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was. Yeah, he's at a track. That's all we can say is.
Yeah, well, we think he is. We don't know where he is. I will tell you that coming up the next hour, Tim Eisenman is the CEO of Torquata Tier 4 Tires. Jeff, what's a Tier 4 tire?
There's it's one more than a tier 3.
They're so expensive they make you cry.
You don't even know. I've never even heard of Tier 1, 2, 3, or 4 tires.
You've got passenger, you've got trailer, you've got
expensive
off-road,
and cheap.
A whole wide variety.
Okay.
We're going to find out.
Corvette tires were expensive, weren't they, Don?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were. I think that was a $1,500 hit for 4 of them, which actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. You know? Just saying.
Just think you could have spent that $1,500 on your lovely girlfriend. Instead, he's spending it on his car.
No, actually, she's got a new set of tires, so there.
There you go.
On the Jaguar, did you get new tires on it?
Would you like to take a headset and sit down and talk to us? Come on, you're more than welcome to. The lovely Leslie has walked in to say goodbye because she's leaving and going to go start her day.
Congratulations on the new job.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you. See you later, alligator. I got some headlines to tell you about. This is really no surprise, but it kind of is. Who would have thunk it? Tesla Incorporated regained its rapid sales momentum in the U.S. during the first 4 months of 2023 after deep price cuts, growing its registrations by 52% compared with the same period of last year, Experian data showed. It's truly amazing, because I thought, with all this competition, they're going to kind of back off a bit. No. Tesla does not break out U.S. sales as part of its global sales report, but registrations serve as a proxy. And speaking of EVs, around a quarter of new car shoppers in the U.S. are now considering purchasing an electric vehicle, a share, however, that has only grown slightly over the past year as motorists worry about charging infrastructure.
All that work Buzz does.
Yeah.
That's the finding of the J.D. Power 2023 U.S. Electric Vehicle Consideration Study. Who names these things? Released Thursday. The research firm found that 26% of shoppers say they are very likely to consider an EV, up from 24% a year ago. It gauges interest in fully electric vehicles rather than electrified autos such as plug-in and conventional hybrids.
They're going to consider it, but here in a very few short years, they're going to be forced. If that's the only choice they have.
I have news about infrastructure and places to plug in because,
that's
everybody's gone. It's been kind of like, remember the Betamax and the VHS, that war? Guess where I went? Betamax. Where did Betamax go? Right down the toilet. Good luck even trying to find such a thing
and
anymore.
Then it was Blu-ray.
Well, and the Blu-ray DVDs.
Video discs, yeah.
So that kind of bit the dust.
They got a show in Vegas, the Blu-ray Group.
That's it.
The Blue Man Group.
Tesla stands to earn.
Beaten on plumbing pipes.
Yep.
Tesla stands to earn as much as $3 billion by 2030 thanks to deals with Ford and GM for their electric vehicles to use its charging network.
Good for Elon. If you know Elon, help us hook a man up. We'd love to have him on the show.
Amen. The deals, which now make Tesla's charging model the standard in the U.S. among the largest automakers in the U.S., will pressure competitors to ditch the primary competing standard known as CCS. Details on revenue were not released by the companies, but Piper Sandler estimates that Tesla could add upwards of $3 billion in charging revenue from non-Tesla owners alone by 2030 and $5.4 billion by 2032. Ka-ching!
Yeah, no kidding. Well, the thing you see, though, around are more and more Tesla charging stations being built. I've talked about the one at Buc-ee's. I talked about the one in Beaumont. Now there's one at the Vintage, right there near the HEB. They put in 12 charging stations, and right now all 12 work because I go by there often enough.
Are they Teslas or are they combo?
It's Tesla. No, it's that
Tesla.
It's that red and white square thing.
Does Whole Foods have them too,
See-
Teslas? Or are they just generic?
The generic, the CCS.
But that goes to show what most people with any common sense already know. You give it to the government, you'll never get it done. So here you've got this guy in the private sector that's going out and building this stuff, and basically he's going to create it to the point that it's going to become the standard instead of trying to compromise.
And it's going to be
everybody.
profitable for him. So the government's going to take all his profits.
I've got
away.
all this stuff, so here, I'm going to share it with y'all for a price. And now he'll become the standard.
Smart guy.
Absolutely
is.
brilliant.
Yeah.
That's why we need to get Elon on the show, like the Joe Rogan show.
Not. I don't think you'd do. Well, no.
No, this is Texas. You
I
can't.
wouldn't know about that. Anyway, Stellantis recalling more than 331,000 2022 and 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee and 21 to 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee L SUVs. They may have incorrectly installed rear coil springs that could detach from the vehicle while it's being driven, increasing the risk of a crash.
Uh-oh.
You think?
Yep.
Oops. What happened, Martha? The whole back end of the car is all sagged down.
Picked a fine time to
The 21
leave
and
me loose.
22
loose
Jeep
wheel.
Grand Cherokees have been the subject of 8 previous recalls. The issue with the vehicles is due to an assembly error, not a part defect. Stellantis is not aware of any accidents or injuries caused by the issue, but they sure do look funny going down the road. With no spring in the right rear or left rear or whatever. There
Think about running into that spring as you're driving.
Oh my
behind
gosh,
him.
that would go right through the window,
Oh,
kill
yeah.
somebody because it's heavy. All right,
And it's metal,
and it's metal, and it's all
heavy metal.
heavy metal. There are some other recalls, including engine failure may cause a thermal event
Uh-oh.
in the Ford Escape, Maverick, and Corsair for 2020 through 2023 models. Chrysler, carbon ceramic brake rotor may fracture on the Alfa Romeo Giulia and the Stelvio 2017 through 2020.
Both of them they sold here in the United States.
And it does not, that didn't say anything about the toenail. That's that new vehicle they're coming out with.
The Teneo.
Hey, what kind
It's
of,
the Italian toenail.
it's the Italian toenail?
Tastes a little garlicky.
It's got a black nail with the 442 tattooed.
I like that.
I know. It kind of reminds
I'm
me
going
of,
to talk to my next time I get a pedicure. I'm going to have her draw a 442 on my
Do you,
toenails.
no, you need to have it painted black and then put the 442 in yellow across
But my
it.
toenails are already black, Don.
Just make sure you put a leaf of basil in your sock.
Geez, I don't really want to know that. I got that vision in my head. How about you, Jeff?
We did not need to know that.
Jeff?
Put some basil in your sock if you're doing that.
Basil.
Yeah, it's Italian. Put basil in your sauces and stuff. Put them in your sock.
Okay. Probably make them smell better.
Yeah, anything.
We've lost control.
Oh, my
and it's all Don's fault.
Airbag may not deploy properly in the Toyota Corolla Cross 2022 to
Just
2023. Bentley Bentayga 22 to 23 models. Second row seats are incorrectly installed.
Backwards.
Incorrect wheels installed on the Bugatti Chiron Supersport for 2023. What is that, a $5 million
$5
car?
million car.
Yeah, it's probably a staggered fit. They put the wrong ones on the wrong side.
That's it. And by the way, did you see Craig Bierman's Ferrari?
Mm-mm.
Holy Toledo.
What do you get?
I don't even know what model it is. Some bad to the
yeah,
bone.
it is.
Yeah, we saw it last week. It's beautiful. Black with a black interior. Oh, my gosh. You ought to hear
the
thing.
SP1?
No, it's not the SP1. It's, I don't know, is it a 2017 or
So, yeah,
18
it's
model? It's
something
got
like that, yeah.
900 miles on it or something. But it is stunningly gorgeous.
Well,
and
that's
it
the
sounds
only way to buy a
funny.
Ferrari.
And
is
you know,
use
those Ferraris always sound funny.
flat plane crankshaft. We
Yeah.
talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we did. And I think that the red line on it is like 8,000, 9,000 RPM.
Sounds like a sewing machine. Yep.
Ball joint may separate from the lower control control arm on the Subaru Ascent for 2023.
Oh, no.
Only once.
Not Subaru.
Only once, that's right, as you take out the entire front end of the car.
And the guy on the left side.
that as well.
The potholes in Houston have nothing to do with it, right?
No. But boy, I'll tell you what, hit one of those with the ball joint separated, I can see that thing all wadded up underneath the car as you roll over it. Rear passenger doors may not latch properly on the Land Rover Discovery 2017 to 2020. Imagine that. Exterior vehicle lighting failure on the Land Rover Range Rover 22 to 23.
Quality built.
Software error may cause loss of drive power. The Mercedes-Benz models, AMG EQE, EQS, EQS 450, EQS 580, and the list goes on and on. 22 to 23 models.
And they can
Mercedes.
probably update that through the internet.
I would imagine. Or over the air, they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know Tesla does a lot of their updates over the air.
What are you going to talk today about on the car clinic?
Blocks.
Engine blocks.
Engine blocks.
Mhm.
And the various styles and different ways of putting them together, as well as some that were extremely successful and others that weren't.
She's the engine block fashionista.
Well, you know, we've talked about piston rings, pistons, connecting rods, crankshafts. I figured we'll just work our way through the
Absolutely, yeah. I also want to do exhaust manifolds and intake manifolds.
engine. That's
I think that those are fascinating things as well. So I've asked Conrad to kind of expand and get more technical in the car clinic, because I need to know these things, and this guy here is Mr. Brilliance when it comes to knowing those kinds of things. So why not pick that brain a little bit as opposed to picking your nose?
I can do that too.
Yes, we've all. Yeah, I know. Ding. Thank you. Did want to thank you for joining us today on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to start with hour number 2 right after this. Stay with us. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around, and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6, or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupe's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupe Tortilla. Lupe Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Real Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Real Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Real Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InRealTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Live on the iHeartRadio Network and the Smoke and Mirrors Network. Every network known to man. It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we talk with Tim Eisenman, CEO of Torquata Tier 4 Tires. We're going to find out what Tier 4 tires are. I drove the 2024 Chevy Trax, and I'll give you my impression of it. It's all new. We'll also hear the Cruise-In calendar. Conrad has that, and Conrad also has This Week in Auto History. And I'll bring in the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Just ahead on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World, Mars, we need more Jeff Zekin. King Conrad DeLong. I just got to throw you for a loop there just a little bit.
Loopy.
Well,
Tortillas.
That's it. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us on this Saturday for our live version of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. It's always on 8 to 11 a.m. every Saturday. And then we, of course, podcast and, do all sorts of rebroadcast. We'll do all that as well throughout the week. So if you happen to miss a segment of the show that you wanted to catch, then you can always do the podcast thing. Okay.
If you mustered.
Now let's go to Tim Eisenman. He's the CEO of Torquata Tier 4 Tires. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Well, we're doing very well, thank you, and it's good to have you with us on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Torquata Tier 4 Tires. Now, I have a tire guy here, Jeff Zekin, who's been in the tire industry for most of his professional career. So then I asked him, I said, what is Tier 4 Tires? He says, beats me. So it's going to be up to you to explain to us what Tier 4 tires are.
Oh, for sure. Well, first of all, we work in the entire tire space. Tier 4 tires are really interesting. Basically, it's a way to classify the price points of tires. Tier 1 tires are the ones that you've probably all heard of, the Michelins and Contis of the world. Tier 2, maybe the more enthusiast brand. And then Tier 4 tires are the lower-end brands, the ones that you might get at a big box shop, maybe the private label tires, the ones that, if you're on a budget, you would probably go for. And they've actually been doing really well in the market, given the economy and so on right now.
Well, that's one of those things that I've always steered clear of is the non-brand name tires when I go to buy tires. And when I was shopping for Leslie's Jaguar, oh my gosh, those things in on a Michelin or a Pirelli or whatever, those things are stupidly priced. And I thought, no, they wouldn't be offering these tires. It's a discount brand, discount tire store brand. And I thought, why not? Okay, so it doesn't have, a 75,000 mile warranty on it. It's got like 35 or 50,000. Fine.
And what he's described is basically a good, better, best.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. And so I'm with you. I mean, why not?
Well, and tires have to meet a federal rating standard. So those rating standards talk about the tire, not necessarily the name brand. The name brand brings price.
Well, you also have to consider the application because a tow trailer tire is going to be different than an off-road tire, different than an all-season tire, different than a mud tire. So that's where you have a good, better, best in each one of those categories. But so far as what the DOT does is based on that application, what you're trying to put it on.
Yeah. And so these tires matched up to the Jaguar F-Pace, and they look good. And they're getting great wear out of them, and why not?
There you go. Well, and a lot of consumers are basically having exactly the same thought process because why spend $250 on the wheel? I mean, ultimately, you're spending more than $1,000, and that's just tricky. So what we've seen is that overall store visits are down. People are trying to, save money. But where we see growth is the kind of lower end, lower price tire, more affordable, a little more budget. Interesting fact also, a lot of people aren't replacing 4 tires anymore. If they've got a blowout, they replace 1. So we've seen a drop of more than 20% of consumers actually just buying a tire or 2 in order to not have to replace all 4 wheels in the vehicle.
Well, I matter of fact, I was faced with that because she had one oddball tire that didn't match the rest of them as far as brands are concerned. And I thought, okay, well, that one oddball, I'm going to get rid of it and also get rid of the one that had the flat, and I'll just buy two. And then I started looking and I thought, no, because the other ones are going to need to be replaced here in the next 6-9 months.
Do it all at once.
I said, just do it all at once. So that's what I did because of the affordability of this lower price tire.
Which one did you go for, if I may ask?
You know, I don't know what the name of it is. I actually looked at it the other day. Some name on the side of the tire that I've never even heard of before.
But it's a Discount Tire house brand.
It's a Discount Tire house brand. I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah, probably private label brand, which honestly, if you're looking for good bang for your buck, makes a lot of sense. Usually those tires are made by the name brand manufacturers, the Contis and the Nittos and the Nixons. They just have a different name on them. So they use extra capacity in the factories to make them for.
Okay, now let's talk about this company called Torquata.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, talk about it.
Well, it's a great company. And what we do is we track 15,000 shops daily. So that means we know what they're selling, what they're keeping in stock, what they're pricing all their products. We aggregate all that data using fancy stuff that's beyond what I do, but I've got people that know. We aggregate all that data and identify which sizes, which tires are trending in a market. And for shop owners, what should they actually stock on their shelves, right? So that they can satisfy consumer demand. Because with the last 20 years, we've seen size proliferation. So many different tire types have entered the market. It is really difficult to know what to keep in stock, to satisfy customers. And so what we do is we help the individual shop owners do better at that and get more out of their inventory investments.
So you do more of a retail inventory management program for shops. So it's,
that's right.
Yeah, it's if you have these in stock, best bet these are what are going to sell. Versus having some odd-sized tire that you may only sell one of every 3 years.
Well, to that point, when working with General Motors and Ford and things in the past, they had an application called OE Connection, where you could actually put inventories in. You could actually set minimums, maximums. If you got a set of 4 tires in there, you set it to 2. So every time you sell 2, you get 2 replenished. So that's the way we dealt with not overstock, but supplying inventory for the main dealerships. And of course, there's brands that are like strictly for Ford, brands that are strictly for General Motors, and things of that nature. So you kind of have to have that balance on what they're stocking for their customers. Another good way is just the demographics in the area. You can get reports and through zip codes, and who through the DMV find out Conrad's got a Cadillac, you got a Corvette, Mike's got a Yugo. All of those things, you can kind of find out what kind of tires they have to stock.
That's exactly it. For folks that know the industry, OE Connection in the dealer space is the perfect analog for what we do in the aftermarket for the independents. Inventory management is a big one. We also help around pricing, right? We aggregate and get to zip code level pricing indices because a lot of retailers don't have their prices online, right? And so we're able to pull brick and mortar prices. Say that a certain a Michelin Pilot Sport goes for 125 within that specific zip code. You're selling it for 145, and you're wondering, why are people not buying from me? Well, it might be because you're overpriced. So pricing intelligence, inventory intelligence. And then we take all of that and package it up for the tire distributors and manufacturers. Because given the market being so fragmented, it is really hard for Michelin or the large distributors to figure out which tires to make, how many of which, and where to place it. And as a result, and that's what shop owners are encountering today, it is really hard to get tires because usually there are not enough, they're not in the right place, and they're hard to come by. And so that if a consumer walks into my door and I tell them, I can get you that tire in 3 or 4 days, I might lose that sale.
Right.
So we're trying to help shop owners to not have that happen.
Right.
So because I think they say, 80% of the time when people are asked to buy tires, they're going to buy from the first person that asks them.
Right. Yes, 75 to 80% the first time you're offered to buy it, they will. And
so you need to have them in stock to do that.
Also, 75% of those people that buy from you at the first go are return shoppers and return buyers to you as well. That kind of trickles down. But you said something about the OE Connection and things. It's a matter of what they're selling. They may be an oddball size every now and then or somebody that blows through town. You have to be prepared for those as well.
So your product is primarily available to the independent repair facilities, or is it publicly available?
No, it's independent repair facilities, first and foremost. We put a couple of things out there just to educate the public, but it's independent repair shops, smaller chains. We've got a couple of larger chain customers. They're not really buying our software product, but more our data. They've got their own forecasting engines and their own inventory management systems, but they benefit from kind of knowing what the market around them looks like. And so we provide them that data. And then, as I said, we're also servicing the kind of upstream part of the supply chain, distributors and manufacturers, with that market intelligence to make sure that they can optimize their production cycles and their inventory management practices. Because ultimately, as a distributor, you want to stock what your customers are going to sell. If you don't know what your customers are selling, it's really hard to stock.
You'd also mentioned things about the internet back in the day when you wanted to price match. Okay, you've got a tire for $100 on sale. Don may have it for $120. Well, I'm going to price match this. It used to be the old school rule was it had to have been a brick and mortar store. You could not price match to an internet because internet you just blow the market out for everybody. So it was only within a certain radius of that dealership, and also it had to be whether the product's going to sell.
Yeah. Well, the issue happened already, right? Because if you get a price match, it takes a couple of minutes. You probably have to make a couple of phone calls to validate that. What we're trying to help independent shops is to not be out of whack on pricing. Sure, plus minus 5% makes sense, but in a lot of cases, it is really hard to price given that there's so many different tires out there and they change over time, especially over the last couple of years with raw material prices increasing, logistics costs increasing. We've seen price increases across all tiers of tires. Just recently in Q1, you look at the Tier 1, the Michelins and the Conti tires. The average tire has gone up by $30. So for a set of 4, you're looking at $100 more you're spending now versus a year ago, and of course decreases for the lower end and tires. But so pricing is really a margin enhancer for a lot of shops, and ultimately something that consumers are, of course, very hard.
And then the OEs changing their tire requirements as well. You got to think back in the 90s, a 15-inch wheel, 15-inch tire was kind of the norm. And the 16s were +1 and the 17s were +2. They were considered exotic in a way. Mm-hmm. And now 16s, 17s, 18, 19s, 20, 22s are OEM production tires, so that range of inventory has to match that range of tire sizes that are being offered through the OEs.
Totally. I mean, I have so many conversations with shop owners that you know what, Tim, back in the day, there's 20, 30 sizes and types, that's really easy to keep track of. And now there's 1,000 different ones. I literally thousands. Just heard that every year, more than 100 different size type combinations enter the market. It's just really difficult if you're running a shop, taking care of customers, have a hard time to have your store fully staffed, to then also be an expert in pricing and inventory management. It's just asking a lot.
Yeah.
So your product is purely informational and predictive selling, not that you have a warehouse of tires that you're selling out of.
No, we don't do any of that. We integrate with, I would say, the predominant shop management systems, the Mitchell 1s and RO Riders and ASAs and whatnot, right? So we've got, 40 different integrations so that we can pull data without having to ask the retailer to do any manual extracts. And then in a lot of ways, we also push that data back into the shop management system, right? So that if they're using RO Rider or Mitchell 1 for inventory management, we basically provide the recommendations and the stocking levels back into Mitchell 1, so that the shop owner doesn't have to operate 2 different systems.
Have you heard of a new DMS system called TechMetric?
Absolutely.
Yeah, TechMetric is based out of Houston, that was developed and is sold out of the Houston market. Pretty amazing RMS or DMS system for the independent shops.
Great piece of software. I would say the big ones right now, TechMetric and ShopMonkey is another one out of Silicon Valley. They got a lot of venture capital funding and are really investing in the product. But we're still seeing high degrees of fragmentation. As you know, there's 200,000 plus different repair shops, a lot of them, family businesses that have operated for, 50, 60, 70 years, and changing kind of the behavior of these shop owners to change the shop management system is really cumbersome. So I think that degree of fragmentation we'll continue to see, but over time, I can see a TechMetric and a ShopMonkey probably roll up the market a little bit. It'll take a while.
Interesting. And so far as the price differences and things on that, if you can sell to the consumer a peace of mind that you've got the tire and you're there to service them throughout the duration of that tire, That's a selling point as well. So the money doesn't really it contributes to the buy or not buy, but then you have to sell yourself on what it is for your customer.
Totally, and ultimately, it's actually a really interesting value proposition to the manufacturers as well. When I look at the average tire shop owner, the amount of money they make on the back end, right, for the rewards programs and incentive programs can be up to 30-40% of the overall profitability.
Wow!
And so managing that is really tricky. So when I go to Michelin, my value proposition to them is, hey, I can help the retailers that are on the Michelin program have the right product in their stocking screen, always have it in stock, always be priced well, and make sure that they sell that Michelin product to the end consumer. And so manufacturers really like our platform and our program because it gives them a little more influence over what actually happens at retail. Because good retail for Michelin-aligned dealers means more volume for Michelin. And so we're seeing the manufacturers really promote our software in order to help their retailers that are selling their brands.
And then also integrate the retail portion of that because, so many of these manufacturers on and off over time offer rebates back to the customer, buy 4, get, $100 off, a $100 gift card or something. And all of the retail locations aren't actively aware of those changes in the retail rebate programs the tire manufacturers offer. In many cases, the consumer has the responsibility to research that rebate that's available on the tires because most of the retailers really don't pay much attention
Tim,
to that.
do you sell your service to these dealers, or how do you get paid?
Are you a subscription service?
Yeah, we've got a free version that we give to our retailers because ultimately they also pay us in their data. We take good care of the data, anonymize it, and so on, of course. So we've got a free version. We've got a subscription service, which is relatively cheap, $25 a month for retailers. And then we make most of our money upstream with the manufacturers and the distributors. They've got deeper pockets, and for them, a $100,000 software or data buy is a little easier to come by than from a retailer. So it's a combination, I would say. And I'd also tell you there's a lot of entities that you might not necessarily think of that are very interested in understanding demand for tires, at the daily level. Think about companies that, produce that operate rubber plantations or that bet on tire stocks in the financial segment. They really want to know how many consumers walked into the store yesterday and how many tires did they buy. And so is Goodyear stock good or bad? And so we help them with making that determination.
Well, there's also the other side of that. For instance, like fleets, Amazon trucks. My God, how many tires do they go through a day nationwide?
Thousands.
It's a ton. And I mean, then you look at major tailwinds like electric vehicles going through tires significantly faster given the size of the vehicle. And so the tire industry, I think, is relatively future-proof. Given the change in the car park overall. And so that's why we focused on that segment of the market because we believe it's here to stay.
So you focus primarily on the automotive and the light truck tire. Do you also do the Class 8 over-the-road tractor-trailer stuff?
Predominantly passenger and light truck tires. We do a little bit of commercial work. But here's the hard thing in all of what we do. Sure, the algorithms are fancy and whatnot, but ultimately, the fragmentation is the hard thing to overcome. 200,000 repair shops, 200 different shop management systems, probably 1 million shop associates, and everyone enters data slightly differently. And every shop management system asks you to enter data slightly differently. So the Goodyear Assurance tire is probably Goodyear Assurance in one shop management system. It's GY Assurance in another one. It's Just Assurance in another one. It's Goodyear manufacturer or tire number in the next one. And so what we do is we take all of these different data feeds, match them against a product master so that we can standardize them and work with the data. That's the secret sauce. And so we started with the biggest chunk of the market, which is passenger and medium truck tires.
Well, to that point too, getting back to the dealerships, when you fulfill inventory, there is a part number of the tire, and then General Motors has their own specific part number for that tire as well. And in order for the replenish to work, you have to put it under the General Motors or Ford, for instance,
OEM part number.
OEM part number because it won't accept it.
And then there's a SKU number,
right,
which is internal to the tire industry that's different from the OE part number.
But to keep that replenishment going, you use the OEM's number.
And I tell you, the dealer space is probably 10 years ahead of the aftermarket in a lot of these ways, right? Be it technology and data and so on. So we aspire to be that for the aftermarket. But I can't really force thousands of repair shops to enter data a certain way. So I need to build a machine that's able to like discern it and ultimately put it into the same format.
So do you have a website people can go look at?
Torqueda.com. Sign up, get a demo. We sent out a really cool newsletter for repair shops and anyone that's interested in tires. So a bunch of the stats that I shared with you today around, what's the foot traffic in the stores, tire kind of increases and decreases by size, price increases. We make that available to the public. Torqueda.com, sign up for a demo or our Trends and Treads newsletter, and you'll always be in the know.
Cool. Torqueda, Torquata.
That's it.
Very good. Tim, it's great to talk to you. Insightful information that I had no clue about.
Really?
Mars is sitting over there with his mouth open going,
I know.
what in the world
I'm
are they
trying to take
talking
notes,
about?
and
he's taking notes. Yeah. Okay, I'll buy that. Tim, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Good luck to you. Stay in touch with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, sir. I love that.
Where was he from? Where is he calling in from? We didn't ask him.
We didn't ask him, but it's certainly not Georgia.
Okay.
No.
And maybe,
Germany. He's in Germany.
Maybe Georgia.
Actually, you know what? I kind of thought of
Eastern Europe.
Wales.
Wales?
He lives in L.A., but he's got a German
Yeah,
background.
Right. Okay. All right.
Suburb of Orca.
Time now for the cruise-in calendar. And I don't know how you separate the cruise-in calendar from the event calendar, but
I don't.
You don't.
They're all interrelated.
No, they're not.
This is in Tennessee.
So, Steak and Shake Car Show this afternoon.
I like steak and shakes.
At 4490 Crow Road in Beaumont, Texas.
You going to go to Crow this afternoon?
I know where that is.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And did you know there's a steak and shake there?
Yeah.
No, does he? Not you. You don't know that.
It's right there by the mall, isn't it?
Hey, and for a long time, before the crowbar was invented, crows used to drink alone.
Oh, my gosh.
Dad jokes. The 2023 Corvette Car Show at St. Luke Missionary Baptist Church. I didn't realize the Baptists were missionary.
Just go on.
Never mind.
Keep going.
Keep going. Don't stop now.
And that's
Bottoms up.
at 11 a.m. tomorrow as well. The Toyo X at NRG Center off of Fannin is JDM only show, which is not Jewish.
Jewish domestic market?
Japanese domestic market cars.
Jewish domestic.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Bunch of little short.
Shalom.
Very frugal.
Michael Garfield, where are you?
So if you're into the JDM cars, tomorrow at noon at Energy Center should be a lot of fun.
Shalom.
The Hot City Automotive Car Meet, 2214 North Fraser in Conroe is tomorrow starting at noon. And the Caesar Fire at VFW Post 3892 off of Harker Heights, Texas, starts at noon tomorrow. And then Rods on Lincoln at the Courtyard Cafe off of Lincoln Avenue in Groves, Texas. Got to get another shot out there for the Golden Triangle.
All right, thank you, sir. Time now for this hour's car review. Had a chance to drive the 2024 Chevy Trax. Here are the trim levels. They start with the LS, go to 1RS, then LT, then 2RS, and then Active. I reviewed the 2024 Active trim level for the Chevy Trax. This is a small station wagon.
That's an understatement.
I cannot believe that the government calls it a station wagon. Does anybody even make a station wagon?
I can't believe they call it small because I would call this micro.
Tiny.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's got more room than that. It's a small. It's a small SUV, is what it
And
really
that's
is.
the one Kylie sat in at the auto show.
And she liked it. 5 people it will hold, including the driver. Complete redesign for 2024. Sharp grille, nicely proportioned body, nice grooves, and nice little special entrebouts on the side of it.
Accoutrement.
Black wheel opening moldings on it. Gives it that off-road appeal. Fastback tailgate with a sunshade. Wraparound headlights. Wheels change with the trim level. What could use improvement? Nothing. Interior highlights. The dash is eye-catching with separate pods for gauges and infotainment. Well-placed controls, bright metal accents on the upper trim levels. Get it. It looks really good. Comfortable seating with cool cloth. Upscale features for entry-level SUV. Cargo and trunk room, second row folded down. Room for golf clubs back there, believe it or not. So there you go. It's not as tiny as you think it may be. What I liked about it, the handiness of the controls on the interior, what could use improvement. All I can say about that is more stuff, more money. And this is a cost-conscious vehicle. Okay, here's for you, Conrad, a 1.2-liter three-cylinder engine, non-turbo. It cranks out a whopping 137 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque.
Whopping.
Miles per gallon, 28 city, 32 highway for combined to 30, and that's where the money lies right there.
What'd you
I
get?
got 29.5 over
Pretty good.
308.1 miles. What I liked about it, the mileage. What could use improvement? It needs a little goose in the power department. Just saying.
where
That's
the
just
turbo
me.
Turbo, supercharger.
Yeah, do something. Yeah, I'm okay with the
LS.
three-cylinder. It acts like a four-cylinder. And, ride and handling. Choppy due to its short wheelbase, but that's the nature of the size of the car. Base trim price, $23,900. Prices tested, $26,935.
Wow.
Base entry-level price, $20,400. Get some today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
first time buyer.
Good price.
Competitors, the Mazda CX-30 starts at $23,225. The Buick Encore, which was kind of surprising when I did the research here, it starts at $24,600. And the Hyundai Kona, which is probably the closest to it, starts at $21,685. That's the review of the 2024 Chevy Trax. All new from the ground up. This is not the old model. That didn't go over too well, and I think that this one will. And it's a lot of it has to do with the price point on it.
The price point and the look.
And the look. And that interior, that dashboard, spot on. Loved it. All right. The In Real Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In Real Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InRealTime.com. And podcasts are also now on YouTube, but they're also at your fingertips on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets. The In Real Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Real Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Real Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Real Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, unique Father's Day gifts in the form of mostly unique vehicles.
Oh.
You're going to love this. Conrad has This Week in Auto History, and we'll get you caught up on the stories making car news this week. Howdy. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin, fresh off of surgery. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could make it here with your surgical career.
Yeah. It's all good.
Had a little back surgery, a little back operation.
Non-invasive stuff. It's all good. The medicine's fantastic.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I've been asking him to share, but he doesn't. He didn't bring any with him.
I know a guy.
I know you too. Okay. Well, we're going to move right along here, and I am going to introduce you to a fellow by the name of Greg Barry, and he is with a company called Municibid.
All right.
And Greg, and so I don't screw this all up. Basically, what this is an auction site.
Correct. Good morning, guys. Great to be with you.
Hey, thank you very much for joining us. Am I right? It's an auction site.
It's an online auction marketplace for governments, state and local governments, schools, universities to auction off no longer needed goods, things they might have confiscated, lost and found, anything a government or school that no longer needs. They'll auction it through our site, and it's open to the public, so anyone can buy.
Oh, my God. So that opens up this segment of our show where it's used vehicle mayhem. Because we're talking about things like a H1 Hummer, a fire truck, a police car, or an ambulance. And I understand that one guy bought an ambulance off of your site, then turned it into a camper that he's calling the Campulance.
Yeah, it's interesting what we see. What we see people do with these ambulances and other vehicles. We had another guy up in New England transform it into a tailgate vehicle, and the stretcher is what holds the grill. So it's kind of cool.
That's beautiful.
It is absolutely. And the obviously the first thing that came to my mind, as a kid growing up, I remember being a Cub Scout, and the den mother took us to the local firehouse, and we got to see the fire truck up close, and the firemen were there showing us this and showing us that. And this particular firehouse had a fire pole. Now, they wouldn't let us go down it, but you could look down there and see how the thing operated, and had some sort of a bag underneath it. So,
So you didn't break an ankle on the way down?
Well, so the exhaust from the vehicles didn't go up to where they were sleeping upstairs. But anyway, all I can think of was one of the car shows that I watched. They were trying to get an old fire truck to actually work again as far as its pump was concerned. This thing hasn't seen a water hose attached to it in 50 years. So it's all rusted up. And all I could think of was, you know what? How cool. Buy one that's kind of stripped down, because a lot of municipalities sell those things where they've taken the hoses off and things that they can use on other equipment. So it's kind of semi-stripped down, but it's still a fire truck. And I assume that the price is proportionate to what you get. So in other words, a great big, 120-foot ladder truck that swivels in the middle to go around corners would be a little bit pricier than just a regular engine.
That's true. Yeah, it's interesting. People buy these fire trucks for all sorts of reasons. We see a lot of times farmers buy them, the pumpers, to use for water throughout
irrigation,
the farm. We have irrigation, and then we have people that collect them. We have other fire departments that will buy certain fire trucks to use them just in parades only. But you're right. The prices really do range depending on, year, make, model, condition, type. It's really kind of all over the place. Unfortunately, the market is pretty saturated with fire trucks, fire apparatus. And it's like, all right, who's buying these? So that drives the price down a little bit on the fire trucks, especially, they're buying these trucks for, in some cases, $1 million or more, using them for 20, 30 years. And then sometimes they're lucky to get 25 grand for them at the end of that life, even though they were $1 million, just because of the market conditions with so many fire trucks out there.
Do you see fire trucks going from one one municipality to another, or a volunteer fire department? Do you see that?
It's not typical, because usually when the fire trucks are sold, they're kind of at the end of their life, and they can't be recertified for use. So that's kind of another issue. But if they are certified for use, then yeah, we do see that. But it's kind of rare fire departments tend to not sell fire trucks until they're kind of at the end of the life.
And end of life, you're talking about where the pump doesn't work, or it's leaking really bad and the engine is smoking to beat the band, that kind of thing?
I mean, it might still be in fine operating condition, but it's time for a new one, basically.
Gotcha.
And so the old one might run fine. It's just not serviceable for what they need.
All I can think of is that,
and they're funded by the taxpayers, so they got unlimited in the funds.
Well, all I can think of is the fact that, here's a fire truck that was built in 1970 and put in service that year, and here we are, 50 years later, and the technology is grown leaps and bounds, I would assume, in fire trucks as well.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something about certification. Is that something that they have to go through to be used?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
So,
yeah.
and I'm on your website right now, and I've already posted it on our social media, is you sell more than just vehicles. You've got appliances, building supplies, computer
governmental
and IT stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much anything. I mean, vehicles is certainly our number one category, followed by heavy equipment. And then it kind of is everything from there: sailboats, airplanes, land, kitchen equipment,
land
equipment.
Yeah. That is so. Are you the original creator of Municibid?
Yeah, I founded Municibid in 2006.
Wow. Well, apparently you're doing okay, because I would imagine that most municipalities use your service.
Yeah, we serve a little over 6,000 governments across the country, and still growing quite a bit. I mean, last year we've added over 600 more governments, and we're on pace to do that again this year. So it's been great. And I think it just comes down to really our customer service and the results that we're able to provide to the governments, but also making it super easy for the public to find these items and to bid on them. It's a lot more convenient than the old ways of doing it, where you'd have to go down, if you wanted to bid on this old police car, you'd have to go down to the township building or town hall and fill out a bunch of paperwork. And then for the town, they would end up with two lowball bidders, and they'll just take the next the highest of the lowball bidders. So that's why I started Municibid. We had I was serving on a town council, and I saw how we were having trouble selling surplus for a true market value instead of the pennies on the dollar. So we sold a $3,000 police car for like $300. And then the next agenda item, we're arguing over $1,000. I'm like, wait a second, we just gave away $3,000. And so that's kind of how that's where the idea for Municibid.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at one here, for instance, a 2022 Ford Explorer up in East Norriton, Pennsylvania, in the East Norriton Township. It's been on the line for 5 days now. And so the price that I see there, is that the minimum price that they're going to accept, $9,800?
No, that's the current bid.
I got you.
So what happens typically is items get bid on right away. As soon as they come up, there's a couple bids placed, and then there's a lull in the action. And then in the last hour, the final few minutes is where a lot of the bidding takes place.
Typical of eBay auctions as well.
Yeah, very similar.
And then I also see that you break it down by state. And
Correct.
It seems like you've got a pretty good relationship in New Jersey and Pennsylvania because that's where all your action is. That's where the majority of your products are coming from. Or is that where they're located?
Yeah, that's where they're located. The Northeast is our kind of bread and butter. So I founded this just outside Philadelphia in a town called Pottstown. And so Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, they're all big states. And then certain states and kind of regions and municipalities themselves sell different times a year. So the summer is kind of a little bit of a slow point for them. And then things really kick up in the third and fourth quarter.
Well, you need to get to Texas.
How long does the vehicle stay on the auction? How long is that pictured before the auction stops on that particular product?
Yeah, we typically recommend that the government set the auctions up for 10 to 14 days, and that allows us to get the word out through our marketing program.
Makes sense.
So you've got a separate marketing program for this.
Yeah. So that's one of the benefits that we offer to the government is we have a whole marketing machine that we utilize to get the items out in front of not only our existing buyers but new buyers across a number of different mediums, really depending on the category of the item itself. So we do obviously a lot of paid advertisements and that.
Well, here's one that interests me, and I'm just going to throw this out there. A 1992 International. It's for sale in New Galilee, Pennsylvania, from the New Beaver Borough Volunteer Fire Department. The current bid on it, there's one bid for $10,000. It's a 92, looks like a pumper truck or a water truck. I mean,
sure.
10 grand. Yeah, I'm all over that. I could probably I could go in business for myself and local firefighting in the forests of East Texas, camp out up there.
Park in your driveway.
Yeah, and you piss off all the neighbors.
Again, I was thinking rice farmers could use it.
But here's some other stuff, too. A light bar, like a police light bar that goes on top of the car. You currently have one bid for $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they put minimum bids on some of these, the minimum price that they'll take for it?
Sometimes they'll set a reserve. We recommend they start the starting bids at about 10% of the expected value. So generally, they have an idea of what things are worth based on previous results or just sort of comparative sales.
Somebody is an expert in pricing used fire trucks or light bars.
Well, the market itself kind of takes care of it itself, so you can just kind of see what. Take a look at the year, make, model, see what you're up against and what other people are selling them for.
So here's one that'll sell in Texas: Big Sky gun holders.
All right.
Since you're not allowed to strap them in your back window anymore and go to high school.
Believe that or not, Greg, we used to be able to do that. They had gun racks in the back window of pickup trucks.
I remember.
I'm
not that young.
Okay, well, at least I didn't know that it was a thing around the United States, but it certainly was here in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I find pretty fascinating is the all of the different kinds of stuff that's on here. I mean, like you said, it's everything from shovels to great big huge fire trucks.
There's a winch.
One thing going back to the fire department is they'll sell the fire hoses, and we have a couple different buyers who buy these fire hoses and repurpose them into wallets and other accessories, belts, things like that. It's pretty neat.
Well,
who knew?
Well, yeah, who knew? And, let's face it, I don't know anymore, but used to be, the nozzles used to be brass. I don't know whether that's the fact or not, but brass bring a pretty penny.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. So some of these computers, though, some towns will sell these computers by the pallet, and really what the buyers are looking for is the sort of the raw materials in these computers,
precious metals,
as far as like the metals.
The fact that, you can go on here, ambulances, appliances. There's a couple of appliances on here. Automotive is huge, clearly. Building supplies. You want a mop bucket? I guess you could find that. Police and fire, parks and rec, all sorts of different categories on here.
And you can also go on and look at completed auctions, which is kind of where you can kind of get what stuff sells for. 2004 Ford Expedition in Beaver, Pennsylvania, sold for $2,275.
I'm in. Yeah, I mean, how bad can it be, you know? Well, I find it fascinating. So how come Texas isn't on here? Are you looking for bidders and suppliers down here in Texas?
Yeah, we have a couple dozen agencies in Texas. It's not one of our bigger states, but yeah, we have buyers all across, millions of buyers all across the country that we market to.
How does the shipping work?
It's pretty much all pickup only.
Ah.
Okay. So in other words, get your 18-wheeler and load up that great big huge fire truck on there and bring it on down.
Or drive it.
Or drive it. There you go.
Yeah, Pennsylvania to
I'm
Houston.
sure that'd be good fuel economy.
Just turn the siren on. You'll get here quicker.
To that end, they in certain cases, depending on the buyer, they'll remove the sirens. And fire trucks, they tend to keep the lights on. But with police cars, they remove the lights and sirens for sure.
That's okay. It's kind of like the Blues Brothers.
But then you can buy them separately.
Yeah, but you got to put the big megaphone on the.
That's not that. You know what that was, don't you? The big megaphone. That was the siren.
Tornado siren.
Not tornado. It was the nuclear blast siren that used to go off at noon on Fridays at the schools around the world. Yeah, okay. Duck and cover.
You're old
Come on,
enough
man.
to know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Shut up. We don't even go there. Well, great Father's Day gifts. Do you give out if you buy something on there? Can you create some sort of a gift certificate for me to use to give to Dad?
Sure.
We could certainly do that for you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate
Here's
it.
what Conrad needs: the Chevy Tahoe push bar to put on the front of his GMC.
There you go.
It's only $130.
That thing's got to weigh 600 pounds.
Yeah, that's it. Greg Berry with Municibid. It's been so much fun. We really appreciate it. I know it's a serious business, and it's just great to get on there and surf your website with all of the weird stuff that is on there.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been fun.
Yeah,
I'd love to come back anytime.
If you got something really unusual or different, be sure and give us a call and let's get you back on.
Christmas.
All right.
Christmas.
We talked to him again about Christmas. Potential
That's
Christmas
right.
gifts.
We'll have some Christmas gifts for you.
So
Jaws of life for Christmas.
Jaws.
in case Don cooked your Christmas turkey.
That's right.
You need the Jaws of life.
And then we'll sell you a fire truck to put the Christmas tree fire out.
Put the house
Yeah.
out.
So we do a show at Autorama for Thanksgiving, and then we start our Christmas stuff the weekend after Thanksgiving. We'll get a hold of you the first part of December.
Yeah, don't be going on vacation on us now because we'll track you down.
This will be fun.
Sounds good. I'm here.
Greg, thanks again, man.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Greg Berry. The company is called Municibid.
Mm-hmm.
As in municipal bidding.
Tons of stuff
Municibid.
on here.
There's some great stuff on here. An 83 K30 4-wheel drive for a.
That bidding's already closed. On that
You
one.
know what? You could be his Texas connection.
That's right.
That's it. All right. So thank you very much. Hey, if you want to get in touch with us anytime, just shoot us an email. Our address here is info@inwheeltime.com. Time now for This Week in Auto History. Conrad has that. And we're glad that it's not confused with either events or cruise-ins.
Oh, shut up. In 1903, Stanley Steamer received a patent for a steam motor vehicle, an arrangement of engine on axle and housing.
Flat Stanley.
Well, no, it wasn't Flat Stanley. It was Steamy Stanley. They went over 100 miles an hour in this thing.
a different
Can you believe
movie.
that?
100 miles an hour.
And then
And you could
Punk
probably
glasses.
find it on Municibid this afternoon.
That's right. And then in 1947, Saab introduced its first car, the Saab prototype. Saab was primarily a supplier of military aircraft before and during World War II. At the
It
end
was
of the
ugly
war.
today, and it was ugly
Look,
then.
it's got lounge chairs for
But-
seats.
But they have that same look of a Saab since day one.
Oh,
And then in 1948, the first car with a Porsche badge debuted, the 351 prototype. And that exact car is still at the museum, the Porsche Museum, available for viewing and stuff.
like
All
James
aluminum,
Dean.
all aluminum, hand pounded aluminum. And
we know about that.
Oh, my
in
aluminum can pounded.
1956, Junior Johnson and his father were arrested in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, running moonshine whiskey.
Say it ain't so.
He was arrested for making moonshine, not for hauling it, because they couldn't catch him because he was pretty quick. He had pretty fast little car back then.
Souped it up.
And actually, his first moonshine car was an Oldsmobile Business Coupe, like we saw last week.
Is it somebody's museum somewhere?
Oh, I don't know. And then in 2006, the animated feature film Cars, produced by Pixar Animation Studios,
brilliant,
roars into the theater.
Absolutely brilliant.
Wasn't that such
yes, it was.
a good movie? And think about some of the voices that were on that movie.
Oh yeah,
Owen Wilson, Paul Newman, Larry the Cable Guy, Cheech Marin as Ramon, the 59 Chevy Impala lowrider.
Lowrider, yeah.
George Carlin as Fillmore, the VW bus. Richard Petty, John Ratzenberger as Mac. Bob Costas was on there as Bob Cutlass. Of course, I had to put the Oldsmobile plug in there.
Sure you did.
Darryl Waltrip was on there. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was on there. Michael Schumacher was on. Mm-hmm. His voice was on Cars, as well as Mario Andretti.
That's very cool.
Pretty genius on their part to bring all those truly famous people's voices into the movie. It's a good show to watch today, and even for Pixar / Disney.
Well, it was Pixar back then.
It's not overly political.
It's wholesome, just like us.
Yeah, just like us. So, I assume that's this week in
auto history.
I have news.
Oh boy.
Is it headlines or just news?
NEWS.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But, in fact, over at KTRH, it's your news, weather, and sports station. And there's one phrase that they use on there, news, and it sounds like they've slurred the news with station. News station. It's kind of like one S between the two words.
Like Newfoundland.
So, I don't know. It's weird. Vehicle incentives are rising. New vehicle incentives are rising with inventories, and analysts project that trend will continue throughout the year, costing some brands more than others. Average incentives reached a yearly high of $1,914 per vehicle in May, according to Kelley Blue Book. This story from
low by comparison to history, but yeah.
Yes. Before the pandemic, incentives approached 10% of the average transaction price. You do the math. Inventory is improving overall, and it's improving by brand, but not in an even manner. Toyota and Kia, for example, have very low inventory, whereas Ram and Jeep are at the high end and have been for quite some time. U.S. vehicle buyers in May paid an average less than sticker, a constant trend since January. Remember, for a long time there, if you wanted to buy a new vehicle, you had to pay over and above MSRP. Average price new car buyers in May paid was less than $410 below sticker, but at least it was below. That's a sharp contrast to May of 22, when the average transaction price was $637 more than the sticker price. I thought that these were interesting.
Yep.
Consumers in May paid an average of $44,960 for a non-luxury vehicle, up $158 from April. Ford and Kia had the highest non-luxury transaction prices, selling at more than 3% over sticker in May, according to Kelley Blue Book. That story from Automotive News.
I'm still wandering through me.
I know you are.
We need to buy an ambulance and make it the mobile studio. That would be cool.
Mars is the one with the deep pockets.
Just buy it.
How much is it?
Well, they sold a 1997 Ford F-250 ambulance, sold for $5,000.
Mars, you can't even buy a computer for $5,000.
I'll beat that. They sold a 2011 Ford ambulance for $751.
The current bid is $751.
No, sold. This is sold.
No, this ends in 14 days.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's got the tallback to where we can put chairs and stuff in there, just like you see the FBI using when they surveil people they're not supposed to.
Kind of like, the kid did that I went to high school with. in the Ford Econoline van that had nothing in the back except folding webbed Kmart chairs that slid all over the back. We could go on a road trip.
I had one of those vans.
Had you? Mm-hmm. Well, not the van, but the ambulance.
Cheech and Chong, the big bamboo.
And if we
roll that thing in a New York Times newspaper, smoke it for weeks.
Mars?
I'm thinking.
No, we don't think Mars. Just you just stay right there.
That would work. That would work.
It would work. We'd have to go. We've got to go to Pennsylvania to get it. I'll bet you we could find one around here.
Oh yeah,
we pay for shipping.
You know, up at 290 in Beltway, there's a graveyard.
Road trip.
There's a graveyard for Houston Fire Department up there, 290 in Beltway.
Really?
Yep.
Well, there you go. Let's go up there.
Off Old Homestead Highway.
Let's go up there and rummage around.
But some of these things are burned out, flooded
out. We can send Michael Wooding up there to do a true value on it.
An appraisal.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking. You know how cool that would be not to have to unpack this place and go pack it up and set it up and come back.
Yeah,
just bring some
cables out, wire at once,
and we'll get John Gray to wrap it for us. Ooh, but it would have to retain the ambulance motif. Yeah, because we're on the road to
change the lights to rainbow colors.
When you
no rainbow thing here.
When you listen to In Wheel Time, we'll put you in the hospital. Take the ambulance.
That's right. And
if you don't listen,
and I'll bet you on the website we could buy from some municipality somewhere a straitjacket.
Yeah.
And we'd cart you off in the straitjacket.
And then on the side of it, we can have a little barbecue.
Like a food truck.
Yeah.
The window drops down.
A barbecue.
Yeah. Barbecue. Mm-hmm.
See them all the time.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I see that we've got the juices flowing, and we're going to have to call Greg back and say, Greg.
Watch where you step.
That's right. I've got a great DeLorean story that I'm going to do next hour, and it's kind of exciting for me anyway. I'm a big DeLorean fan. Well, they're about to launch the new all-electric DeLorean. Mm-hmm. And they've picked an ad agency, a boutique ad agency in Austin. So we've got all the stoners over there coming up with all these ideas. I'm liking it. Yeah.
And it's only going to go 88 miles an hour.
Yeah. Well, and before it disappears in a flash of lightning.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right, friends. This has been a good, fun segment. Time now for a quick break. We'll be right back. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeartRadio. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupe's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupe Tortilla. Lupe Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Live from Studio A and the Sugar Shack World Headquarters, it's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show.
The hot Sugar Shack.
It is. Coming up, we're going to talk to the VP of Legal for a company called Informed IQ and Bias in Lenders for Auto Loans. Hello? Yeah, let's do that. Jeff has a segment on personalized license plates I think that you're going to get a kick out of. Conrad has the racing calendar and the car clinic. We'll also have the stories making automotive news headlines this week. We're going to get you spit roasted right here in hot Texas.
All right.
On the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. And we'd like to thank also for filling in for the CEO, Tom. Tom, don't let me screw this up now. Is it Osherwitz?
Bullseye, first time. You got it right.
Well, it was only by luck.
That is the first time he's got it right.
And I can see that you've already got a sense of humor, so pardon us if this is not a legal course in dissertation here.
Not at all. Not at all. No, it's all bias as such. Love to talk about it.
So you're one of those guys in this company called Informed IQ that's kind of like in the background back there trying to keep everybody on task. No, you can't say that. You can't say this. We're going to go this way. You can't do it that way. That kind of guy.
Right. No, we're absolutely making the world work one day at a time.
That's it. I love it. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your Saturday to join us this day. So bias in consumer lending occurs when a lender makes a decision related to a loan and denies credit or imposes non-standard terms for reasons other than the borrower's credit worthiness. Oh, my gosh. Try to untangle that web for us, would you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the first thing I would do is go a little broader and say, what is bias, right? Let's get everybody on the same page on that. So bias is basically when you make a systematic error and all the values are wrong by a certain amount. So imagine you're measuring somebody's height, and every time you measure their height, they're wearing boots. Bias is that it looks right, but every time the soles of the shoes are off, right? So, I mean, you're always off by the height of the shoes. And, there's a professor named Brian Marks from Morehouse College who talked about who has bias. And it said basically, if you have a brain and you live in society, you have bias, right? So bias is something we all have. And so when we think about loans, bias comes in every part of the process. It comes when somebody makes a loan, it comes from the dealers, and it comes from consumers.
Okay. Let's just say, for instance, that I want to buy a new car, and that new car is $50,000.
Right.
And my credit is kind of teetering on the edge of being able to buy that $50,000 car, but I know I can buy a $30,000 car. Where does the bias come in on that when it comes to lending money from a bank, a financial institution? Where does the bias come in?
I think bias comes in two places. One, it comes in from the data, and two, it comes from people's discretion. So right now, about 80% of the loans in auto are through dealers. And when you go to a dealer, the lender gives the dealer something called a buy rate, which is the price that they would be willing to offer to give the loan. And then there's something called a dealer markup. And that's the amount the dealer can raise the price and still get the loan approved. And the bias comes into that little discretionary between the buy rate and the markup. And the second place that bias can come in is in the loan itself, right? So when you may give a credit score or give somebody a credit, evaluate their loan, there's bias in the data.
Is it inherent to have bias in the data?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's absolutely, when I think about lending, we think about 3 generations of lending. In the 1960s or 70s, it was discretionary. You guys all probably remember It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
And you would just look at somebody and say, hey, you look like a good loan person. Somebody get a loan, I'll give you the loan. And then in 1989, FICO invented the FICO score. And basically the idea there was people are biased, so let's have computers do it. But the problem with that was that it's like assuming that data is actually neutral and data isn't neutral. And so now one of the issues with credit scores is that they're only as good as the data that's in them.
And then doesn't the federal government get quite involved in trying to manage this bias so that there isn't any gender, race bias that's going on as well?
You are absolutely right. I mean, there's laws like Equal Credit Opportunity Act, regulators like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau look at this stuff. And in fact, just in the last couple of years, there's been efforts to, punish folks who haven't done right by consumers. There was a case in New York with an auto dealership where they literally told their employees that give certain people, try to sell certain products to Hispanics and blacks because we think they're less educated. And they had to pay a $1.5 million fine. There was another case in Illinois where products, especially ancillary products like nitrogen tires and tinted windows and gap waivers were sold to some people and not others. And I guess the last point I would make is back in the early teens, the CFPB did a study and it found out that generally speaking, black and Hispanic borrowers were charged a couple $100 more than average for dealer markups.
So I want to go back just a minute. You talk about dealer markup. So we've got a financial institution that gives the dealer the power, basically, to loan that money to a consumer. Where does the markup come to the dealer? On the loan? Or, does it come on? Is it included in the price of the car? How does that all play out?
So that's a really great question. So imagine that you have a loan and the loan says, the lender says, hey, I'll give you this, I'll approve this loan at 7.5%, but I'm willing to go to 9% and still approve the loan. And so the dealer, depending on what the consumer buys or what the other rates are looking at, may charge it more. And the money, that increment above the 7.5% will be shared between the dealer and the lender.
So the dealer looks at it and says, okay, I got the money for, make sure I understand this. I got the money for 7.5. Now I'm going to turn around and charge this guy 9. And if he takes it, then I'm going to split the profit per se with the lending company,
with the
bank.
Of the 1.5.
Yeah, right.
I think you got that right, and I think part of the reason why you want discretion for the dealers because they're working with different aspects of the consumer to get whatever else they're buying on the car or whatever the amount is. So
right,
so they can make money on what in the business is called the rate bump.
Or back end.
But they can also make money on the MSRP because some banks will say, hey, I'm going to loan you 7.5% up to 120% of MSRP. So they can make money in multiple places, which is why a well-informed customer is the one who's going to save the most money when they go in to buy a deal.
So let me ask you this, Tom. What happens when the car manufacturer says 0% interest on this Chevy Blazer if you'll buy it today and we'll run it out to whatever it is, 4 years or 5 years or whatever?
And there is no interest in the Chevy Blazer.
Oh, hey, that's funny. Ha, ha, ha. But so that therefore you cut out the dealer's chance to make some money off of the loan. And the only way that the dealer is going to really bump it up is through the actual sale price of the car.
And the ancillary
products. Right. You're absolutely right. And I guess if I was going to give consumers tips about how to buy a car, if that's really the underlying question, there's a couple things you can do. One is, do research about the car you're buying ahead of time so you know roughly what the retail price is. 2, you can consider getting a loan from your local bank or your local credit union and getting that pre-approved. 3, you can think about what optional add-ons you're interested in and then make sure that you're comfortable saying no if you don't want the additional ones. And I guess another point would be to make sure you look at that contract and make sure that nothing was stuffed into your contract that you didn't want. So there are things that consumers can do. And the other point I would simply make is that bias is just not on lending, but it's on consumers too, right? So, there's something called projection bias, which is that, people tend to think about the future the way it is the present. So if it's a warm, sunny day, you're probably more likely to buy a convertible. Or if it's a cold day, you're more likely to buy a black car. Or if, it's snow, you're more likely to buy snow tires. So people need to think about what their own biases are. Another type of bias is what I would call anchoring bias. So you walk into a dealer, and the first car they show you is the most expensive car, right? So you're saying, oh my God, that's the price. And then they show you the cheaper cars later. Because you saw the more expensive car first, that's your anchor, right? It's like looking at a T-shirt and saying, hey, I'm going to charge you $75 for the T-shirt. Then you show a $30 T-shirt, and that looks cheap. So the consumers also have to think about their own biases they bring into the showroom.
There's an emotional aspect of that. Okay, what does AI informed IQ do?
Sure. So typically right now, or back in the day, when a dealer would mark up a loan or sell the loan to a lender or show it to them, they would send a 50-page PDF to the lender, and the lender would have to review it. We've automated that process.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's interesting from a bias perspective is we can actually automatically check for things that could go wrong. So, for example, in Texas, there's a doc fee of $150 requirement in the state. And if that doc fee for some reason is above $150, we can use our technology to check it and say, hey, consumer, hey, lender, this is wrong. Let's get rid of it. Similarly, if you look at like gap waivers, there's a limit in Texas, I'm using Texas today, that you can't charge more than 5% of the amount financed for a gap waiver. We can check that. So one of the advantages of automation is that you can remove some of the discretion that causes bias.
So do you sell your service to, who do you sell your service to?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we are the, as you said, the back office insight window for lenders, indirect lenders, to take these auto loans that are provided by the dealers and evaluating them. So many of the nation's largest lenders use us to automate and process these loans, which is a win-win for everybody, right? Because instead of taking 2 weeks to fund a loan, we can evaluate a loan in 15 minutes.
So you guys do the research for the consumer and I come from a little bit of a retail side. You monitor the technique in the car business called Foursquare. So in Foursquare, there's 4 things that the dealer wants you to focus on. He wants you to focus on one of 4 things: price, down payment, interest rate, or term. So all of those things, or trade, excuse me. So, and if they can get you to focus on one of those, they can kind of goof around on the other 3 and make more money on you if you're not paying attention.
They're going to land you.
Your program is trying to monitor all aspects of that for the consumer and for the lender, saying, hey, they've got you focused on your down payment, but, you need to pay attention to what's going on over here in term and doc fees and all that other stuff where they nickel and dime you.
Great comment. I would just say yes, but. So what we do is we literally digitize and automate all the information on the loan. And once it's digitized, we can then ask questions like, does this loan have X? Does this loan have Y? So, the lender can make sure that A, they can fund the loan, and B, that it's compliant with the law.
But you basically work with lenders, not necessarily directly with consumers.
That's correct. You're right. You got it.
Okay. So it's not a retail company.
But what he's doing is he's giving us the information of what he does for instance, like if a dealer is self-funding new car loans, for instance, or his bank, the dealer's bank, is loaning them all this money, and he's basically the broker in the loan.
He's a quality control.
He's the guy.
Right. He finds the odd man out features of the deal.
Yeah.
Right. So and another way to say it, guys, is that when it's like a market. The banks are bidding for the loan from the dealer, and they win the bid. But once they win the bid, they still have to verify that what they bid on is what they wanted. Right. So they have to fund the loan. And that's where we come in to make sure that the loan is what it's supposed to be, and the loan works, that there's the right signatures, that the income from the consumer is right. So we're really just helping the back office to help them vet the loan.
Well, I want you to represent me as the consumer? How do I know that the the financial institution is using you?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I think what our job is, I think the more that we can make lending, here's how I would respond to that by saying, the more we can automate this, the more we can remove discretion that can hurt consumers. And we can put checks into our processes, which many of our clients ask for, to make sure that, consumers are protected.
So in other words, somebody like Chase, let's just a name that comes to mind, that Chase says, okay, Informed IQ, I want you to make sure that the money that I'm loaning Don Armstrong is on the up and up when it comes to buying this new car. And that is where Tom comes in, and he says, okay, we're going to look at this. We're going to look at that data.
Look at the contract.
And looked at the contract, and he's going to tell Chase, no, this is not right. This doesn't add up, and red flag. Am I correct, Tom?
I mean, not only can you say my name correctly, you got that absolutely right.
That's two in one day.
Dang.
We're going to celebrate.
Yeah. We'll post that
well, I
somewhere.
mean, I got to bring it down to my level on this stuff, because that's your business, and I don't know your business at all. I had no clue about this bias in loans. None. Who was to know? Because I just assumed that here I am, I make this kind of money, I got this kind of savings, and this is my credit rating. Mm-hmm. That's all I know. Mm-hmm. And I think
that's great. I'd like to give you an example. You guys might find this interesting. Let me talk to you about a little bit about bias and data. And I'm going to talk about cars here. So back in 2012, this is about bias and data. There was a program in the city of Boston called Street Bump. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Never.
Okay, so Street Bump was this program by the city of Boston to find potholes around the city. And generally the way you find potholes is you have some guy in a truck and he's looking around, sees a pothole and covers it. So they said, hey, let's take advantage of consumers. And they said, let's use consumer phones. We know that phones have sensors that can bump up and down. So they built an app, and all these people logged onto the app, and they drove around the city of Boston. And then they reported every time they hit a bump back to the city. All sounds great. But what happened was that the people who downloaded the app tended to be yuppies and young professionals, so they only found the potholes on the streets that the yuppies drove. So that's an example of the bias in the data, right? Because only certain people downloaded the app.
Right.
So that's the thing you have to be careful of.
Yeah. Yuppies.
Oh, my God.
Where you're getting it from.
So all they were doing were fixing potholes around Harvard.
That's it. Well,
you got it, guys.
Well, Tom, I mean, how in the world did you get yourself into this job?
That's a dilemma.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been working in the field of data for 20 years, and, totally appreciate how, the ordinary person buying the car, that it just really got to make sure that you're aware of the biases. I worked at the CFPB for a period of time too, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and looked at AI when I was working there. So I've been playing around with bias for quite a while.
So is this your company, Tom?
I'm the VP and of the company, right? And I handle all the policy, I handle all the legal stuff. So it's certainly not my company, but I'm happy to be there.
Well, I'll say, I mean, you're a very smart guy, and we thank you very much for being able to kind of drill it down to our ignorant level when it comes to this stuff, because, I mean, not in a funny way, but truly, I mean, I don't know anything
think about
no,
this.
You never think about it. And we could really get screwed very easily and not even know it.
And that's the hope of some of the car dealers.
Well,
is to turn you upside down and shake all the money out of your pocket.
And so he's there to help me not get.
Well, he's there to protect the banks from that happening to the bank.
And then also, I just wanted to stress, and I said a little bit before, that I do think that consumers going to the store need to think a little bit about themselves too. I mean, one other type of bias I didn't talk about is confirmation bias, which is, the type of bias you have when you pay attention to what you already believe. So, for example, say you love Ford trucks, right? And so every time you hear a good stat about a Ford truck, you agree with it, but you disregard everything about a different type of truck. So people just need to think a little bit about their own biases, right? It's not only the lenders and the dealers, but you, a consumer, have a role too.
So what the manufacturer calls brand loyalty is actually a bias towards that brand.
Right. You're going to think great about that because you're loyal to that brand. Every time you hear a good fact, you're going to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you today, Tom. We really appreciate you spending the time with us. Best of luck in your career. I don't think you need any luck. I think you're doing just fine up there. And listen, when I've got a question about that car loan that I'm about to get, I'm going to call you, okay?
Can't wait for it.
I'll bet. Hey, have yourself a great summer, Tom.
Happy Father's Day.
You too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. Tom Oshowitz.
Cool.
Pretty cool.
Vice President of Legal for Informed IQ.
Nice.
I know. It's way beyond me, but I kind of get it, you know? Okay. Let's see. It's that time to tell you about Jeff's little thing, and I want to tell you also about.
I don't want to know about Jeff's
little thing. Well, I mean, no, it's personalized license plate, vanity plates.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you will.
that thing.
We're going to get to that, but first of all, let's do the race card. And I want to remind everybody that the In Wheel Time race card is sponsored by Texas Nostalgia Modified Production.
Even if they didn't show up for their interview today.
Yeah.
So NASCAR is at Nashville on June 25th. They're in Chicago on July 2nd. That should be a fun race to watch. Chicago Street Course. I don't know why, but they are.
All I can think of is, are you going to get a ticket? You're going to get a ticket, or somebody's going to get knocked in the head or shot.
Oh, I will bet you there will be some crime going on during that.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canadian Grand Prix Formula One is this weekend. They're in Zandvoort next weekend, and the Austrian Grand Prix the first weekend of July. Watkins Glen IMSA race is next weekend, and our friend Alec Udell will be racing in that. IndyCar is at Road America this weekend. They're at Mid-Ohio July 2nd. And then 24 Hours of Le Mans happened last weekend.
Yep, I watched it.
Cadillac finished third and fourth.
Third, fourth, and 13th.
In the hypercars. Yep. Corvette won its class.
Yep.
And that Hendrick Motorsports car, the Camaro, it won its class, which was the invitational class. And nobody really gave it credit for even finishing the race.
Yeah,
and Hendrick. It did. And then NHRA is in Norwalk next weekend. They're in Bandimere on July 14th.
Hot.
Seattle on the 21st and Sonoma on the 28th. The weird thing is finally Erica won last weekend her Pro Stock. And on the Western Swing, the only place Pro Stock is going is Bandimere. They're not going to Seattle, and they're not going to Sonoma. What a shame.
Well, and then, I think that's part of the reason that the NHRA is kind of
collapsing.
Yeah, because
and then next weekend is the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. Richard Tomlin will have his car there, as well as running a couple of other cars. Should be a lot of fun. I don't know if we're going to be able to get him on the air to talk or not, but I'll leave that up to Mr. Mars.
Yes, the booking agent.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Jeff has got a thing that I saw the pictures of the license plates, and I'm going, yep, I know Jeff's going to do well with this one.
Oh,
personalized plates are what we call here in the upper end vanity plates.
Vanity plates. Clever or risque? That's the question. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell you the vanity license plates are a popular way to make the car stand out in a crowd. However, like all creative endeavors, personalized license plates can be a great opportunity for the funny people of the world to crack a dirty joke. The best part of this is, while you're reading it or trying to interpret it, react to your funny plates as you drive around town. Now, the first license plate was issued in 1893 in France, and then a few years later, the Paris Ordinance Act of 1901 came about, and that's how they became license plates.
What does it say on the back of that truck? Philanderer?
No.
Oh, plumber.
All
Sorry.
right. But the license plate is 0 turds on this one.
It was what?
0 turds.
On the back of the plumber truck.
Each state, when it came to the United States, each state had their problem with giving it to the government, so that's why we have different plates in different states. The first license plate in America was in New York. So this is a plumber with 0 turds. I think I'll allow this one. This one's not too bad, not too risque. He's got his phone number on there.
And there's somebody at the state tag agency that reviews these to make sure. I'm getting ahead of you. Sorry.
Yeah. This one here is not a big secret. This person had the nicest mom or a narcissist mom, whichever one it is. So I'm going with the nicest mom. So there you go. That's a good one there.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's not risque.
Or incest mom.
Incest mom. That's
this
right.
one here, the state of Washington has a W, and the guy obviously he likes hot dogs.
Where was Anthony when we needed
Anthony
him?
Weiner.
Could be
Anthony
Anthony's
Weiner.
car.
Well, there's a lot of deep hidden meaning in this because you got an Audi, and then you got a University Audi plate, and then you got the Washington state. So there's a lot of uppityness.
So it's got for those that are listening and not watching, it's got the stylized Washington letter on there
From the
Washington.
University of Washington.
And then and behind it, it's got EINER.
Mhm.
So you put the two together, and it's Wiener.
But he's a big fan of hot dogs. That's my
I'm
impression.
sure that's what it is.
Yep. Now this next one here is
Knockwurst, because it's a German car.
This one is a bit personal. It's a vanity plate. Put your
can't read
50
that.
Shades of Grey down, and it says "I love BDSM" on the plate. And it's a Mini Cooper, so it's got to be a small BDSM. I'm thinking.
So is it a heart?
I
heart
love. Yeah, I heart.
I heart
BDSM.
BDSM.
And it's a small car, so you can't escape that one.
In California.
So does
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yep.
Mhm. Okay.
So, and then you've got this guy is in tune with the young people voting because you can register to vote when you're 18. So, are you 18 yet?
And then
So he's into voting and making sure that all the good citizens are registered to vote.
That's what that
You
is.
bet.
Liar.
Yeah.
On a Saab.
On a Saab. This one, at least one person is honest. If you're going to get a fire engine red Corvette and celebrate your midlife crisis, this is the least you can do. The plate says Viagra. There you go. Like that. And then, of course, the
I
last
take
one.
offense at that.
Well, okay. The last one is you all make the interpretation of this one.
What does that say, Conrad?
Likelihood this guy's last name was probably Cox.
No, it's the media company.
Yeah.
Cox Media. Mhm.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the big media company.
And what does it say?
Big Cox. So I wonder what his wife's license plate looks like.
And that's Michigan.
That's Michigan. And somebody allowed that to go on.
Yep.
What's COX?
Yep.
Okay.
There you go. This is just vanity plates, just something to look at. It's all good. I do it. Kathy and I do it. We look. Oh, look at the plate. What does that mean? She has to explain it to me. So.
Well, you do. You have to figure out what they mean.
Yeah. Well, and
I
some
did
of them you don't.
When I was a field engineer with General Motors, I did an inspection on a Corvette that had popped the motor, and go down there and look at it. And there's all of this black rubber on the rear quarter panels.
Oh,
that
sure.
You could tell the guy had been racing and stuff. And the license plate was ULUZ. You lose.
You lose.
And actually kind of searched the license plate on YouTube and found a video of him blowing the motor, racing the car.
And that was the end of that warranty.
That was the end of that warranty.
Yeah.
You betcha.
Yeah. No racing allowed. All right. Thank you, Jeffrey.
All right.
The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. And by the way, YouTube is now doing our podcasts as well. And podcasts are also available on over a dozen of the most popular other podcasts out there as well. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In-Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In-Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Live, it's the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, Sean Jones, Corvette Invasion Wrangler. Conrad will have the In-Wheel Time Car Clinic, and I'll bring you this week's auto news. Howdy, along with Mike out of This World Mars. King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Thank you so much for joining us on this live edition. We're live every Saturday from 8 to 11 a.m., and we hope that you'll join us every Saturday, 8 to 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. I have an apology to make right out of the box on this because Sean texted me yesterday in the middle of the heat while I was flying, and I said I'd call him back afterwards, and guess what? I got out of the helicopter too late and then had other things going on. And Sean, my apologies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what? It just happens sometimes, you know?
Hey, I'll forgive you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
There's no air conditioning in his helicopter.
No, there's nothing in, no.
Poor
No
Don. I know taking a helicopter with no AC. Gosh, I don't know how you live at night. I mean, sleep at night. I mean, God.
Sean, don't feel too bad. He forgot why he was going in the other room this morning.
That's exactly, yeah. Well, that happens quite a bit. Sean Jones is the creator of a thing called the Corvette Invasion, and it happens, and it has been happening. This, I guess, would be the 10th one.
Yes, sir.
And it happens up at the city of Bastrop. Mm-hmm. Now, for those of us that know about kind of a little bit about Central Texas, Bastrop is the place that you go if you're going to go 71 up to Austin.
It's a suburb.
It's a suburb of Austin.
Suburb of Austin.
Yeah, exactly. And they also have a good Buc-ee's there, and it's a great place to hold a car show, and especially about Corvettes.
And it's also very close to Circuit of the Americas.
There you go. Well, I will tell you that last year, Leslie and I had a great time and a great bed and breakfast up there. It was a wonderful event. I truly mean that. And lots of Corvettes showed up, and I assume that it's going to be the same version 10 years later. Correct, Sean?
Well, things are actually going to change. And I want to kind of, if I could, just kind of start with the history of the Corvette Invasion, how it got started. So in 2013, my buddy Steve Pond with the Houston Corvette Group reached out to me. I was the activities director for the local Corvette club here in Austin. And he reached out to me and said, hey, we're going to be coming up and up to Austin, and let's get together and just have some, have dinner, have a good time. And so I made a call over to my buddy Jody, who was running the Oasis restaurant here in Austin at the overlooking Lake Travis. And we met up for dinner, and that little dinner party among two Corvette clubs through social media, of course, grew into about 300 Corvettes.
Nice. So, and all 300 show up at the Oasis?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
pretty
God.
Much. Yeah, that's what everybody says. Like, oh, gosh. And, the people that were out there just trying to enjoy a regular, evening dinner, enjoying the sunset, and all of a sudden they see all these Corvettes coming out and like, what's happening here? What's happening here?
Right.
But yeah, that was really just two Corvette clubs thought we'd get together for dinner and then throw it out on social media. And, hey,
So you had a rod run out there to the Oasis.
We did.
Now, was this before or after the fire out there?
I was way after, yeah.
Way after
2013.
Remember what year the fire was, but it's been, oh gosh, they've renovated that and they've really made it look, top notch out there.
Yep.
It's really a nice venue. If you ever get a chance to get back to the Austin area, I'd recommend it. It's a nice place.
Absolutely.
And downtown Bastrop's kind of a destination place to go visit as well.
Sure. Yes, it is. Definitely. Bastrop's, well, like anywhere in Central Texas and probably all of Texas, it's just growing so fast. But kind of going to go back to the history of it. 2013, we had this little dinner party. And then 2014, and I told you we had about 300 Corvettes show up that first year. If you can kind of think about this, we almost doubled that the second year. So the word got out the first year that we had all these Corvettes, and the second year it almost doubled. When it did that, it was frightening. It was like
out of control.
Out of control. No parking. No, it was pretty insane. The Circuit of Americas got a whiff of this, and they had just opened up their racetrack, and they asked us to come out year 3, and we did. We spent a few years out there. It was great. We loved going out there and enjoying the track. But in 2019, the city of Bastrop said, we would love to be your host city. And we host hotel, and we have a convention center, and in Texas, July, it is hot. So we heard convention center. I said, does it have good AC? And they said, yes, the best. And I said, we want to be there.
Yeah.
So we moved it to Bastrop, Texas, and they have been so welcoming, so great to work with, have a great convention center. And so our car show is there at the convention center parking lot, but all of our vendors, the food, refreshments, the awards ceremony is inside now, which just makes it great.
Good planning.
Yep.
Yeah. The people that have known the history of this, even some of the people that have said, look, it's just too hot for me to come out. I said, look, come to Bastrop though. And we've made a lot of changes, and I think, Don, you were there last year, and I apologize to you. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off last year. I didn't really get a chance to chat with you, but I did see you out there.
I know, and I will tell you that I knew that. And listen, I've been to enough car shows to know that the organizer of the car shows got his hands full.
Yep.
And I ran into you that morning that we did the Circuit of the Americas, and man, it was crazy, and lots of Corvettes out there, and you had a wonderful time running the Circuit of the Americas. And I know we need to keep it below 45 miles an hour. Okay,
well,
fine.
We this year, now I will say this year we're not going to be going back to the track, and I know that's a disappointment for some, but we have decided to focus more on what's happening in Bastrop, so we won't be going back to the track. Now, I will tell people that are bummed about that. If they want to come back in November, I am partnering up with SVRA, Sports Car Vintage Racing Association.
Yep.
And I'm partnering up with those fine folks, and we're going to be hosting a big Corvette corral that weekend, along with the vintage racing, and then we'll do parade laps that weekend for their event.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, for a Circuit of the Americas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the Corvette Invasion this year, we basically our schedule is Friday night. We're going to have our meet and greet, and we're very excited about that because we have Ben Keaton that's going to join us this year. And as y'all know, he just
won 24 Hours Le Mans.
Yes. So we're very excited to have him as our guest speaker Friday night, and we'll have some good food and drinks, and then we'll have live music by the Clutch Kings. So that'll be happening Friday night. And then on Saturday, we'll have our big Corvette car show. We're expecting somewhere around, probably around 200, 250 Corvettes. When we moved it to the Bastrop, we did take a hit on the number of Corvettes we used to have. But now I think it's better because it's not, Don, you've seen it. Like when we were at the track last year, there was probably well over 400 Corvettes out there.
Yes, there were. Yeah. Easily.
Easily. And so by limiting the number of Corvettes that we have for our Corvette car show, I think makes it go smoother, and it entices people. They need to register early. They can't wait until the last minute, because last year it sold out. This year it may sell out again. We hope, but
makes it a lot more manageable. And there's been 2 or 3 events that have done that. Hot Rod Tour of Texas, they've got a limit. Lone Star Throwdown, they've got a limit. And there's another one out there that it just, you got to be able to manage it, or else your people don't have a good experience.
Yeah, you lose control of it. Nobody wants to come back.
Right.
You're right.
So you're making a good move there.
Well, I really got to thank you for arranging for the Wienermobile to be there. Because we thoroughly enjoyed speaking to the representatives of Oscar Mayer and the Wienermobile gang that were there displaying the Wienermobile. That was a feature that I truly loved. And we got to see one of the things about having a car show with one make of car, a Corvette, and you can see all of the different interpretations of what that owner thinks their Corvette should look like.
Yep.
And let me tell you something. It's all across the board. Anything and everything you can imagine. You got the race group, you got the show group, and then you've got the group that has bought every trinket imaginable.
The guy who's got a credit card and a J.C. Whitney catalog.
That's right. Yeah. And Sean knows exactly what I'm talking about, and they're all there. And it's fun to see that. And the other fun part about these shows like this is that people bring the lawn chairs, got their umbrellas, stay out of the heat, and stay there and talk to your other Corvetters out there that we all have the same passion. And the one nice thing that Sean does is the early models, the C1s, the C2s, and some of the C3s, they had their own little special place up there at the front of the convention center. So I thought it was very well handled and well done.
Well, thank you, and I can't take all the credit, of course, because I have a lot of people that do help me.
Like Don Armstrong.
Yeah, right. Like Don Armstrong. No, I have one big, a few big shout outs I have to give to my buddy Glenn Judice. He's actually down by Beaumont. He comes up every year and helps me with this event. He does so much for us, and I have to give him just a big shout out. He's like a brother to me. And then my business partner, Elaine Prout, she handles the registration and all those people that are coming in there getting the registration packet. She's got to deal with all the questions and things. My wife helps her on that too,
and she also does breakfast as well. I'll tell you that.
Right. We have breakfast on Saturday morning. That's actually, we have a caterer, Jean Lane. She does phenomenal. She'll have.
Well, last year everybody was pitching in, and I told one of the girls over there, I said, "Need some help? Come on back, help me." Sure, no problem.
Yeah, it's a great group of people, and like I said, I've got so many volunteers that help me make this successful. I don't want to start calling them all off because I'll forget somebody's name, but I'm just a great team. I'm very blessed.
Yeah, well, no doubt about it. And the other thing too, and Sean helped me out, because I had signed up to go with, I don't remember what hotel or motel it was, but he said, "No, I'm not going to let you stay there. That one's kind of creepy." He says, "Let me make a phone call." He makes a phone call and found a bed and breakfast that still had some vacancies left. And we stayed in this absolutely charming, old school bed and breakfast. And the lady had converted it into just that. And it was a wonderful experience, and she was a great person. And I want to thank you for turning us on to that.
Sure. I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the Pecan Inn. And
yes.
my buddy Dave Wiley, who's actually our MC for the event, he was staying there as well.
I'll be.
So yeah. I don't know if you had a chance to meet with him, because he's got a radio background as well. I figured you guys you'd have a lot to talk about.
Well, we would have, and I met up with him, but by the time we got back to the hotel, I was toast. I was done. And I know you know that feeling, and especially with the heat and everything. And so we'd gone to dinner and we made a day of it. And got in on Friday and got all set up and drove around town, had some good dinner downtown on Friday night. And then I did not make your meet and greet on Friday night because I was pooped. But Saturday it was a great time, and spent the day out there and had dinner down there on Saturday night. So it's a great, short but sweet little event. And I know if anybody is a car person whatsoever, they would truly enjoy stopping by and seeing what the Corvette Invasion is all about.
Yes, we welcome everybody, and I get asked all the time, do I have to have a Corvette? Well, you have to have a Corvette to register, but it's free for the public. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. This is free to the public. They're going to have spectator parking at the PAC Center, which is just down the road, and we'll have some complimentary shuttles. So I invite everybody to come out of all ages, come out and see these beautiful cars. And hey, if you start getting a little too warm, go inside the convention center, enjoy our vendors. Like I said, we'll have food, beverage in there. We'll have some giveaways. You know, it's going to be a fun time. I think everyone's going to enjoy it.
Great car show.
Yeah, it truly is. And I will say this about parking, that I noticed that right away, early on, that there were a lot of people snapping up those parking spots around the convention center out on the street. And I know that the neighbors were out there going, "Ooh, honey, did you see that car parked out in front of the house today?" And those got snapped up pretty quick as well. So it's a nice, safe, good event. And wish I were going to be there. I'm going to be heading up to the UP of Michigan on that day, and I'll be thinking of you.
Well, I appreciate that, Don. And, you know, if you can't make this event, one of the things, if you don't mind me mentioning, I have several events throughout the year. This is all I focus on. So I do about 8 different shows a year, Corvette Invasion being the one that is probably our largest event, one that takes probably the most time to prepare for. But, I have a monthly Pistons at the Park in Pflugerville, Texas. I have an annual Rockin' Rides in March. I'm actually helping with the big, nice display of cool cars for the upcoming Austin Auto Show later on this month. I'm going to be launching a Gears and Guitars, which is a music festival and a car show. And then I'm working with SVRA more, too. I've got the event in November at COTA. I'm actually traveling with them to St. Louis in September for a big birthday celebration for the Corvette. And then I traveled earlier this year to NOLA, New Orleans, and to Sebring, Florida, all doing Corvette corrals for SVRA. So there'll be a lot of things coming up that you can come out to one of those maybe.
Well, thank you.
I'd love to have the whole gang come out maybe next year, and you set up there at the inside the convention center, and maybe do your show live there.
There you go, Mars.
There you go.
Okay, so you can work on that. Well, I will tell you that. Ask you a question? Is there a clearinghouse website that I can find all of these events that you just mentioned?
Well, so I have a very popular Facebook group called Sweet Rides of Central Texas.
Okay.
And if you're a true car enthusiast, I recommend you to go on this page. Or it's actually, we have a page and we have a group. Okay. So if you go on the page, you'll get notified of the events. If you get in the group, that's where you're going to get all the good stuff. Hey, where can I have my car seen about this or that? Or what events are coming up? Every week I always ask, what are your, car related plans? Yeah, because I don't even know. So everyone in the group, they'll throw things out there, and it keeps the car community, informed of what's happening.
Well, fresh ideas too.
It's not just Sweet Rides; it's Sweet Rides of Central Texas.
Yeah,
that is correct. Yep,
okay.
Yep. So
Cool.
They can like it on Facebook, and they can also join the Facebook group. Any Corvette related event that I'm organizing, I'll put it on my CorvetteInvasion.com website as well.
Very nice. Sean, it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Good luck to you. And we'll be in touch, and hopefully we'll see you before the end of the year.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Sean Jones, Corvette Invasion, coming up the weekend of July 14th through the 16th at the Bastrop Convention and Exhibit Center.
Exhibit.
Mm-hmm. All right. Time now for Conrad's Car Clinic. Today we're talking about engine blocks. We've gone through pistons,
piston rings,
connecting rods, crankshafts, now engine blocks.
So,
engine blocks, originally we'll talk about the Model T. They would pour those, and then they would have to sit out and basically cure for a couple of months before they would bore them out and do all of the stuff and put them in a car and send them on the way. They've come a long way, baby. So some of the early engine blocks, the crankshaft was in the bottom, and then you bolted jugs on top of it, which were the cylinders. And, that lasted for a long time, and that's still the case in a lot of aircraft engines. Is that
I was going to say, and air-cooled engines.
The cylinders are just bolted on top of the engine block. And then it kind of evolved, and then they went with an integrated block, and the integrated block with the crankshaft, camshafts, and the cylinders were all poured into one molding. Now, the way that they do this is it's layered together with sand castings. So there may be 5, 6, 7 sand castings that they put together and then stack on top of each other, then pour the molten metal on top of it, and then they have to wash the engine out from all the sand debris from the casting sand.
I did not know that.
Yep, that was the way it was done earlier. And then so then they had an integrated engine. This happens to be a flathead, and you can see the valves. Well, the valves were in the head, still in the block, not in the head. And then, now a much more integrated inline 6-cylinder that everything was together. And then you can kind of see casting lines in the block itself as it was sand casted together. And it's like the sand mold would go and they'd layer them together because very complicated internal shapes on these engines.
Like sand through an hourglass.
Right. And then they moved to what I call an integrated engine, which the cylinder head, well, this isn't it. This is a V6. Actually, it's a V6 with cylinder liners in it. And the cylinder liners, you could either do a wet liner or a dry liner because the cylinder wall is the part of the engine block that probably gets the most wear, and they wanted to be able to replace the cylinder walls alone by themselves. A wet liner meaning that the cylinder goes in with the coolant on the outside of the cylinder liner. A dry liner is the cylinder is pressed into the cast iron of the engine. And the I always thought one of the most interesting engines out there was the Offenhauser engine of IndyCar fame.
Yep.
Back in the 50s and 60s. That Offenhauser, the cylinder head and engine block were integrated. The cylinder head didn't bolt on and off. It was poured into the engine block. So to do valve work on it, you had to remove the pistons out of the engine to put valves in it. And the benefit of that is they could go with, 50, 60, 70 pounds of boost on those engines, create a lot of horsepower without having to worry about blowing head gaskets on them. So that was the benefit of the earlier Offenhauser engines. And now, instead of doing wet liners and dry liners, they do a lot of aluminum blocks, and then they go in with a plasma sprayer, and it'll spray the cylinder walls in there in a liquid iron, and then they'll go in and bore it out. So the complexities of engine blocks has been advancing. And I believe that Koenigsegg, who they build these ultra supercars, they're actually doing 3D castings, kind of like computer-generated 3D moldings that you can see these little 3D printers doing. They're actually doing some of their engine work with basically 3D printing, but it's applying liquid metal to do it because how complicated the internals of the engine are, and they want to make sure they build enough strength to create 2,000 horsepower out of a 3-liter, 4-liter engine. That's so they have to make sure it's
ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be the LS engine.
Well, the LS engine isn't. The LS engine is still sand casted, but
it's aluminum.
Well, some of them are aluminum. The LS engines in the cars are aluminum. The LS engines in the trucks are still cast iron with aluminum heads on them. And the reason for that is they wanted that cast iron block because it's stronger than the aluminum block. Yep. Most of the LS or all the LS engines are still sand casted. One of the important things you have to do in a sand casted engine is clean it correctly. There's I always have an Oldsmobile angle to this. There's a story at Oldsmobile that Oldsmobile was providing the New Jersey Police Department with pursuit cars back in the 70s, the Delta 88. And what they were finding was these high-speed pursuit cars would lose the thermostat housing on them. And all of a sudden, it'd spew all the coolant out. Well, what was going on was there was still some residual sand casting in there.
Stuck in there.
And no, it wasn't getting stuck in there. It was literally sandblasting a hole from the inside of the thermostat housing. So then they went
to pressure.
Yeah. So, lots of complexities about engine blocks, but the technology is vastly advancing.
I want to get this one story in before we have to go. DeLorean Motor Company has hired Austin, Texas agency Bakery as its creative and media agency of record. The appointment marks the first time the automaker has worked with a lead agency since '95. DeLorean, which became a cultural icon thanks to Back to the Future, hadn't produced a car in 40 years until it announced its upcoming Alpha 5 model. The company was looking for an agency that could help tap into the culture. In the 90s, Mr. Wynn acquired the intellectual inventory and property rights and trademarks from the company founded by the notorious John DeLorean in '75. Need for an agency came as the automaker set up to launch the Alpha 5. Be looking for that. Back after this. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Real Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Real Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Real Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InRealTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Well, that's a wrap for this week's In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. When you're online, follow our Facebook page. Give us a like. Tell your friends about us and share our junk if you would, please. Yeah. We're depending on you to help us get the word out. Isn't that what car people do?
Yep.
We keep you posted on all things automotive all week long, including car reviews, upcoming events, cruise-ins, racing events, and other informative and entertaining car and truck goodies. You can find the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app and our live video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and on InWheelTime.com every Saturday, 8 to 11 o'clock Central Time. Daily 30-minute podcasts are up on your podcast channel that you use all the time. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is David Ainsley. Our marketing advertising advisor and video technical director is always We Need More Jeff Zekin. For a booking agent and podcast popper, Mike Mars, and Mr. Know-It-All, his royalty, King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Please join us for our next live In Wheel Time Car Talk show, Saturday, June 24th on all of these In Wheel Time Car Talk outlets, right here on the Smoke and Mirrors Network, 8 to 11 o'clock Central Time next Saturday. Have a great weekend, stay cool, and so long for now.